Are we approaching the finish line? Somebody give me the darn answer already. 6:04, good morning. It is great to be here on a Friday. Yes, it is a Red Friday on KCMO Talk Radio in Kansas City, and I'm not convinced that we are. You may have seen the news cycle yesterday, which got very busy in the middle of the afternoon in this town, when it started getting reported by sports radio folks that the Chiefs and the Royals were taking a very close look at the state of Kansas, which we know, but that ahead of this meeting on Monday, this Legislative Coordinating Council meeting on Monday, there was further movement with specifically the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm seeing this from afar, and I'm following this like many of you are, and I'm seeing different statements and rumors and things like that being thrown out there. And I'm like, okay, what are the officials saying? And the first official that said something was Ty Masterson, Senate president in Kansas, who has obviously been at the center of trying to bring both of these teams to the Kansas side of the state line. And he put out a statement saying that he believes the Royals are fully committed to Kansas, which fulfills their obligation regarding the advanced timeline given from the LCC. While their location proposal continues to evolve, it will not be finalized or considered this year or during the upcoming legislative session. So with this Legislative Coordinating Council, which is the group that would say to the Chiefs and the Royals, yes, your star bond and your location is approved, with this group set to meet on Monday, this coming Monday, it read pretty clear to me that the Royals are not going to have a decision here. That's not part of the equation. But what they have done is basically bought themselves more time. That's what they've done. Because the star bonds are valid until June 30th of next year. So if you wanted this thing to magically come to an end, you are going to be sorely, sorely disappointed. This is not on the 1 yard line. It's not. I mean, we've had sports radio hosts in this town say for the better part of the last 9 months, they're going to Kansas. They're going to Kansas.
March 24th.
Yeah, March 24th. Ow. Thank you very much there, Basset Hound. Not Bulldog, Basset Hound, Bob. All right? I mean, we've been doing this for 9 months. And I'm not saying they won't end up going to Kansas. I'm not sitting here telling you that at all. I'm just sitting here telling you to take a deep breath. Let's do it together. Calm down a little bit and realize that, yes, it is possible one or both teams move to Kansas. Yesterday was not necessarily the reason to start running around like chickens with our heads cut off if you're like, hey, I think Arrowhead's good, or I want to see both teams in Missouri, or whatever it might be. Yesterday was not the day for that. We really knew that this was going to happen. We knew there was a meeting coming up on Monday. And the Royals, according to Ty Masterson, has fulfilled the obligations he's required and the LCC has required to basically buy themselves another 6 months. That's it. That's what we know at this point. Now, I'm going to have Ty Masterson on this show coming up this morning at 8:30. So you want to make sure that you're back here, whether you're streaming it on KCMOTalkRadio.com, on the iHeart app, wherever you're listening, your Google, your Alexa. 8:30 this morning. Be back here in a couple of hours. Ty Masterson is going to be on the show. Now, we all know, and I see all the chatter on social media. I got people pinging me and in my mentions this morning, and I just actually responded to somebody on X about this when they said to me, hey, Pete, Missouri was done when their offer from the state was only 50% of the stadium, when the state of Kansas was offering 70% of the stadium being paid for. And I just want to reset real quick. I mean, there's a lot going on this morning, all right? I just want to reset this real quick, and you can jump in at 913-408-7957. If you're a Missourian, are you finally getting spooked on these teams leaving? Do you say you don't care? And if you're a Kansan, are you like Mark? I mean, Mark, this guy, I'm telling you what, if these teams come to Kansas, Mark's buying Ty Masterson lunch for a month. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting.
I know.
Not gonna lie.
Just own it, man. Listen, you can own it. It's all right. You want to see him in Kansas. That's fine. That's totally fine. I think they're fine where they're at, but that's not the conversation right now. So anyway, someone drops that in my mentions. They say, hey, Missouri was screwed when it only offered 50% of the stadium cost, while Kansas was offering 70%. That is a very oversimplified way to frame this. Very oversimplified. First off, Missouri backs the bonds on the stadium upgrades of the new stadium. The Kansas does not back star bonds. All the risk is on the teams or the investors. Now you might say, well, what's the big deal? Well, that's a big deal. That matters to the quality of the bonds is what it does. When the state's backing it versus just the star bond being out there and like floating out there and, the team's on the hook and the investors are on the hook, that changes the quality of the bond. That's a big deal. Much less risk in Missouri. Now, of course, Missouri does require a local sales tax component. That is not required in Kansas. So something in Missouri, whether it's extending the Chiefs in Jackson County or it's the Royals going up north, there would have to be a local sales tax component to all this. So maybe the teams are afraid of going to the voters again after they failed last year. I don't know. But that is what makes Kansas more attractive. There is no vote of the people in Kansas on these star bonds. There is, and there needs to be a local sales tax component in Missouri in order to get the state money. The benefit of that, though, is that it's direct cash being put right into the pockets of these teams. Now, yes, they use them for upgrades. And, right now, that 3/8 sales tax in Jackson County that's split by the teams does get used for maintenance and minor upgrades and things like that. But it's a direct cash payment from the taxpayer to the teams. That will not exist in Kansas, to be very clear. Unless, and this is my fear, unless there are some backroom conversations going on between the teams and local politicians to say, if we are coming to Kansas, we are going to need some direct local sales tax dollars. You think that's political suicide? Yeah, I mean, I think it should be. But you'd be crazy to think the team wouldn't make the ask. So that is part of the equation as well. There are direct cash payments on the Missouri side, theoretically, if you can get something passed. There's nothing like that in Kansas. And then there's stadium ownership. These teams don't want to actually own these stadiums. They have no interest. They do not own them right now. County does. That's why you've got this Jackson County Sports Commission. I mean, the teams have all the benefits without having to do really any of the ownership stuff, property taxes, things like that. Now, from what I've heard, those conversations on the Kansas side have been active. They want to basically figure out how to not own the stadiums, not actually pay property taxes on the stadiums, because why would you? They don't have to do that right now in Missouri. My understanding, based on how the Star Bond deal works, is that they would have to actually own the stadium unless they get some special carve-out. Do they really want to own the stadium? Or do they want to basically have the stadium for their use, reap all the benefits without having any of the risk, which is what they basically have right now in Missouri? That kind of nuance matters. And that's not me sitting here telling you that they're staying. Okay, I mean, sure, it looks more likely today than yesterday that they're going to Kansas, which, they may just say the upside on the business side is way too valuable and we're just going for it, which that's their prerogative. I'm just saying Missouri's not done, and it's not as simple as like people in my mentions here, a guy who just responded to an X as saying Missouri didn't put their best foot forward. They did. They did. But if Kansas is more attractive for a multitude of reasons, then I'm not sure what Missouri really left on the table outside of having too much local incompetence on the political level, which will be a conversation for another day. 913-408-6600. 95.7. It is 6:14 as we get it rolling on a Friday morning on KCMO Talk Radio. Kendall Gammon's going to be here, of course, coming up in 1 hour. We'll talk a little Chiefs-Titans. Boy, that's going to be a fun one, isn't it? All right, let's get Kendall on board with tanking the rest of the season. You think I can get him to do that, Mark? Because we all want to. Listen, I'm rooting. I understand we're rooting for our team, right? But can we all agree it's better if they lose 3 straight games to get a better draft pick?
Oh, yeah, and I think that we can get Kendall on board, but the tough thing is the Titans and the Raiders are 2 of the worst teams.
I know. They're so bad. All right, Libby is in Waldo. Hey, Libby, good morning. What's up? Happy Friday.
Well, happy Friday to you, too. I have a solution to this, whatever is going on with these stadiums and these teams, because they are so rich. All those players, the Royals and the Chiefs, let them pay for all of it. Why hit taxpayers?
What the players paying for the stadium? I mean, I love you, Libby.
Yes,
I love you.
yes.
I love you to death,
Yes.
Libby.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
now listen. Can billionaires should team ownership be on the hook for their own stadiums? Yes.
Yes.
But they've been playing this game for 35 years now in cities across the country, and there's no evidence to suggest it's ending now.
Yep, I get it.
And here's the thing. Let's not forget. Thanks, Libby. Have a great weekend. Let's not forget that Kansas entered the chat, as the kids say, to be like, we want to keep the teams in the region. We're just here to help out. And all it did was create a border war and give the teams more leverage to get what they want out of, theoretically, the taxpayer. That's how it goes. But I did see, like, the Bears are having this issue right now. The Bears are now threatening to go to Northwest Indiana. The Gary, Indiana Bears.
Gary Bears.
Yeah, exactly.
The Bears.
Meantime, Northwestern University in Chicago putting up a new football stadium, $800 million, all through private money. They can do it. But why do it if you don't have to? Right? That's how it's been going now for really 30, 35 years in this game of professional stadiums. 913-408-7957. How you join us? All right. The rescheduling of marijuana comes down from the White House yesterday. A lot of Republicans upset about this. Are you? The more I look at this, I'm not crushed. I'm not, even as someone who's not smoking pot. Although this Chiefs-Royals story, I may be smoking pot if this thing doesn't end soon. It's not my cup of tea, but you may just find me wandering around Missouri stoned if this story doesn't come to an end. Anyway, what did Trump do? We'll tell you about it and the drama and the controversy around it next.
from Lenexa to Lee Summit. You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
President Trump getting into the weed game. He has rescheduled marijuana from a Schedule 1 drug to a Schedule 3 drug, and this was the president making the announcement yesterday from the Oval Office.
Today, I'm pleased to announce that I will be signing an executive order to reschedule marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 controlled substance with legitimate medical uses. We have people begging for me to do this, people that are in great pain. For decades, this action has been requested by American patients suffering from extreme pain, incurable diseases, aggressive cancers, seizure disorders, neurological problems, and more, including numerous veterans with service-related injuries and older Americans who live with chronic medical problems that severely degrade their quality of life. And it's so really, I mean, just, I can't tell you, I think I probably have received more phone calls on this, on doing what we're doing. I don't think I received any calls on the other side of it, but hopefully this reclassification, which, by the way, polls at 82%, will help many of those patients live a far better life.
All right, so the president is pitching this yesterday, rescheduling marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 drug by saying, in part, now we can actually do the work to figure out what the benefits are, what the downsides are. We can do research that you otherwise couldn't do when it was a Schedule 1 drug. There are banking benefits as well here, too. Now, to be clear, this move does not legalize cannabis federally. It would not directly resolve the banking challenges for the marijuana business. But it would open up the door for medical research that was basically and has been stymied by the stringent drug classification that marijuana finds itself in or found itself in as a Schedule 1 drug. So I am not a marijuana user. I generally think that marijuana being readily available in society has not been a great thing. But am I intrigued by having the FDA potentially investigate and do more research as to the medical benefits for a lot of people who are in a lot of pain versus pushing pills on them from Big Pharma? Yeah, that's very appealing to me, John.
One of the first congratulatory calls to Trump came from Hunter Biden. And he was wondering, hey, what are the lobby hours down there? I think I left something laying around.
I don't think he rescheduled cocaine, though, did he? It was just marijuana.
No, but he left some other things down there, too, right? Not just.
He had a nice holiday gift basket for Trump. Is that what you're telling me?
Sure.
Such a nice man.
Hunter's got a cornucopia of things. What time's the lobby open down there? I forgot where I left that.
That's right. Where was that? No, we never found out who left their Coke in the White House, did we? Okay.
Not yet.
So the rescheduling would be the biggest advancement in federal cannabis policy since U.S. states began legalizing recreational marijuana in 2012. Most states have now either legalized or at least obviously decriminalized marijuana for recreational or medicinal use. So this is something the Biden administration considered at the end of its term, but I guess the auto pen wasn't working that day, so Biden never got around to it. So now Trump's doing it. Now, this got a lot of blowback. In a letter to the president on Wednesday, 22 Republican senators urged against the reclassification, arguing that cannabis is harmful and undermines the administration's agenda. You had yesterday Mike Thompson, our good friend, state senator out of Shawnee, Kansas, put out a statement. He's dead set against this. And he said here in his statement that he knows Roger Marshall in Kansas was against the president doing this. I need an argument here as to why this doesn't change federal law, but why at a time when I just want to know more, right? I mean, go back to COVID when people are screaming about settled science. If this opens up the door to actually studying this drug further, That's a good thing to me. I'm intrigued by that. I've seen people's lives get destroyed by pills, by highly addictive, big pharma, over-the-counter pills. And if there are specific instances medicinally where marijuana is a better, safer, and less addictive option, I'm intrigued by that. It doesn't mean I'm sitting here smoking pot and listening to Snoop Dogg all day. That's not my thing. But I'm very much open to this. Dennis and Bonner, what's up, Dennis? You're on KCMO.
Good morning, Pete. Boy, you threw me an Uncle Charlie on your response. I really thought you were going the other way, and I apologize for assuming. Thank you, because the marijuana issue is if people that have used it for medicinal purposes, be it for the 86-year-old woman with memory loss, that all of a sudden her 3 growing children say, oh, my God, Mom's back. She's not as forgetful. For the person that's got colitis, and this is the one I don't get because I know a couple people that smoke it or take gummies for ulcerative colitis, and it helps. The paraplegic that takes it for pain, instead of taking hardcore big pharma drugs that are destroying your organs. And here's one, and this is kind of personal.
I'm up against it there, Dennis, real quick, buddy.
Here's one, vertigo.
Yeah.
It helps with vertigo,
Yeah.
sir. Hey, have a good one, buddy.
Listen, I'm not a doctor, but I know a lot of people who are going to say the same exact thing as you. And that's why I'm open to it, and I'm intrigued by it. 913-408-7957. We have an update in the Brown University manhunt next.
You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM KCMO.
Well, it looks like they finally have their suspect. He is dead in the Brown University mass shooting from last Saturday. And what we also know as well is that this person may be tied to the shooting of the MIT professor just a couple of days later. Here was the report late last night. Fox News was on it, and here's what came down and when we found it out at about 9 p.m. last night.
I have to admit the possibility here that just geographically, perpetrator here ends up in New Hampshire by going through Massachusetts. MIT is in that area, Massachusetts, and so he must have transferred through that area to get to New Hampshire. In fact, the reporting is that's when he tripped the LPR, going from Massachusetts to New Hampshire. So if that's the case, just by proximity, you got to say there's a nexus there. Here's another question, though, Kellyanne. If the ballistics could have connected the two, I can't imagine that that wasn't done with great rapidity, that they didn't say pull the ballistics, pull the shells that were found at the scene in the MIT homicide and the shells and the live rounds that were found here. Do they match? Because once you got that, then you know it's the same perpetrator. They mustn't have matched because you can do that very quickly.
So that was from Fox News last night. Authorities have identified Claudio Manuel Neves Valente, according to Providence Police, as the suspect in Saturday's mass shooting at Brown. 2 students dead, 9 injured during a finals week review session. At the same time, they believe he's also the guy who shot and killed an MIT professor just days later. He was found dead last night after law enforcement officers in tactical gear were seen outside of a storage unit that linked him in Salem, New Hampshire for hours. Neves Valente, 48 years old, was a Portuguese national and studied at Brown from the fall of 2000 to the spring of 2001 to study physics, according to Brown. But he went on a leave of absence and ultimately withdrew in 2003. So we don't know a lot about this guy right now. It took him a week to obviously figure out where he was and who he was, and then they find him allegedly. They find the shooter, they believe to be the shooter, dead in a storage unit in New Hampshire yesterday. Now, there are still so many questions as to this investigation. What took so long? The holes in this investigation. The fact that local authorities mishandled it. Brown had absolutely no idea how to help out with this investigation. And the reality is they also didn't have the proper camera set up on campus. There have been multiple reports this week that Brown took some of the cameras they had around campus down as recently as last year, because some of the pro-Palestinian protesters demanded the university remove the cameras because they thought it was unfair if they had been identified on campus by these said cameras. And Brown complied, according to recent reports. Now, last night, during a press conference, the Brown University president, her name is Christina Paxson, was asked about the camera situation and the camera setup, which that failure led to this manhunt taking nearly a week, and here's how she tried to defend herself.
Video played a big role in this case. The neighbor's video, the rental car video, but not the video from the building that he walked in freely both before when he got in the confrontation and when he came back in and decided to kill people. You didn't have cameras in that building, just say it, so we can get this over. And my next question is, will you put cameras in that building? Will we walk cameras in that building?
Yeah, you know, I think we need to look back. We'll look at everything that is done, but I do not think a lack of cameras in that building it had anything to do with what happened there. And we will go forward.
How could you possibly come to that conclusion? You would say about any investigation, the more cameras, the better, right? And if there were previously X amount of cameras in the building, and then you had fewer cameras in the building when this tragedy took place last week, then how could you not come to the conclusion that, hey, you know what? Had we had more cameras, had we had the number of cameras in the building that maybe we used to have, we don't even know this information yet. It's just all being reported, and obviously Brown is not interested in being transparent or talking about what happened, and their $3 million a year university president is way in over her head on this and is clearly in a defensive position right now. But how could you possibly say that not having more cameras might have led you to catching this person earlier than you ultimately did? And in part because you were not able to catch this person in time, you had another guy that got killed, this MIT professor that got killed a couple of days after, because you guys had no idea who this person was or where he was. So that's where this story is at right now. And we're still trying to figure out what would motivate this person who had not really been at Brown or a part of Brown and going on a quarter century. He's in his late 40s. It's not obvious at this point what his motivation was. Now, Secretary Kristi Noem put out a statement last night on this, U.S. Department of Homeland Security, and she said that Claudio Manuel Neves Valente entered the United States through the Diversity Lottery Immigrant Visa Program in 2017 and was granted a green card. So this guy comes to Brown and then he leaves, I guess, and then he comes back to the country. I mean, we're still trying to piece this all together. But she said he came through a diversity lottery immigrant visa program in 2017, got a green card. She said he should have never been allowed in the country. Now, of course, Trump was president in 2017. So she goes on the note here that President Trump fought to end this program when he got into office the first time. And this was after the devastating New York City truck ramming by an ISIS terrorist that you may recall from that year. That guy entered under the same program and he murdered 8 people. She says, at President Trump's direction, I am immediately directing a pause of the program to ensure that no more Americans are harmed by it. So, I mean, I guess we'll take that for now. I mean, frankly, pausing everything right now on the immigration front is something that it's not about not wanting to have great immigrants in this country, but when you opened up the floodgates to 20 million people over the last 4 years, you got to get a feel on who's here to begin with and then figure out, okay, what are our immigration needs as a country? I mean, that's just, it's not a left versus right thing. It's just a common sense thing on how to handle this. Who do we have? Who's here? Who do we have to filter through to make sure that we don't have bad people here with bad intentions? And then, okay, let's reset everything. Let's start from scratch, and let's start being a little more targeted in what we're doing here. That's got to be hopefully something from a 35,000-foot view that comes out of this story. And I hope that that's in part how it plays out. 913-408-7957, our text line and our studio line on KCMO. Pete, I bet it's going to come out that this Brown president was way in over her head and she will resign or get fired. That'd be fine with me based on what I'm seeing. And by the way, the Providence police chief, we talked about this guy yesterday. I mean, that dude, he should be out of a job. He should have been out of a job on Monday, the Providence police chief. Oscar Perez, I mean, I wouldn't trust this guy to run a lemonade stand at the end of my driveway. I trust my own daughters, and they do a darn good lemonade stand. They know how to mix it. They know how to sell it. They know how to collect the money. I mean, I see this guy, Oscar Perez, doing these press conferences for the Providence PD, and he's got no clue what's going on. So there's a lot of people that need to be, shall we say, shown the door when all is said and done with this story and this investigation. There's no doubt about it. And now we've got to figure out what the motivation was of this guy. All right, we know that one of the people that was killed was one of the prominent Republicans on campus at Brown. This guy hasn't been at Brown at 25 years. So was it targeted? Was it not? Was it just totally random? And this is the person that he happened to end up killing. The professor was a Jew. That was something that was brought up early in the investigation as maybe being a targeted hit. The MIT professor was known as a very much pro-Israel professor at MIT. But this guy has no real background of note at these places in recent years, so how would he know that? We don't know. Still a lot of answers that we've got to figure out in this shooting. The 6 at 6, top 6 stories in the 6 a.m. hour we'll share with you coming up next on 95.7 FM KCMO.
from Leawood to Liberty. You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
The warm-up starts today. Let's go. We're looking at mid-60s by the time we get to Christmas coming up next week. That's exciting, but it is that time of the morning. Let's roll it.
It's time for the 6 at 6 on KCMO Talk Radio. Number 1.
Anybody with the name Frank White is now officially out of the picture here in the Kansas City area. Weeks after his dad, of course, got recalled and booted as Jackson County executive, his son, Frank White III, who was the CEO of the KCATA, that's the Kansas City Area Transportation Authority, is out. He has served as the CEO since 2022. He had worked at the KCATA since 2016. His contract expires next month, and the KCATA declined to renew that contract. They put out a statement yesterday saying, "We thank Mr. White for his 10 years of service and for being a stabilized force as the CEO during a time of transition. The board is looking forward to building upon the momentum we've established and continue advancing the agency's efforts." Of course, the KCATA operates the public bus system in the Kansas City area, including in both Kansas and Missouri. They've got funding issues. Obviously, they went ahead, which wasn't really as much Frank White's fault, but they had the free bus fare since 2020, and it just has not worked out. So Frank White III is out as CEO of the KCATA.
Number 2.
All right, on the federal level, President Trump directed the federal government to reclassify marijuana as a less dangerous drug. Yesterday, the president signing an executive order calling for Attorney General Pam Bondi to expedite the rescheduling of cannabis from a Schedule I drug with things like heroin and cocaine to a Schedule III drug that puts it in the same category as testosterone and Tylenol and ketamine and things like that. So this is the biggest advancement in the federal cannabis policy since U.S. states began legalizing recreational marijuana in 2012. This does not legalize marijuana federally. It does not resolve banking challenges for marijuana businesses, but it opens the door for medical research that was previously stymied during pot's Schedule I classification. And that's a big part of this. It's also expected to eliminate some of the tax burdens that have made profitability an uphill battle for many cannabis companies in states where they legally operate.
Number 3.
Well, as we just noted, but it is a massive story, so I've got to put it in the 6 at 6. Authorities have identified who they believe to be the Brown University shooter who killed 2 and injured 9 last week. Claudio Manuel Neves Valente is the individual. 48 years old, a Portugal national, studied at Brown in the early 2000s. And he also is believed to be the person who just a couple of days later murdered a renowned nuclear scientist at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, that's MIT, earlier in the week. He was found dead in New Hampshire is where they found him. And that's where authorities are at right now. Self-inflicted gunshot wound at a storage locker in Salem, New Hampshire. So this story is far from over, but that's where the investigation is right now.
Number 4.
Next up, Fred Sherman has announced he's resigning from the position of Johnson County, Kansas election commissioner after 4 years on the job, according to Kansas Secretary of State Scott Schwab. Scott Schwab saying in a statement, "I thank Fred for his service to the people of Johnson County. I appreciate his commitment to administering elections that are safe, secure, and transparent. Before becoming the county's election commissioner, Fred Sherman served as deputy election commissioner in Johnson County. He was and played a big role, obviously helping figure out the election process during COVID. So Fred Sherman, I will say, got a bad rap. And what I mean by that is there were a lot of cockamamie, crazy, borderline conspiracy theories that Johnson County basically had rigged elections because Democrats started kicking the butts of Republicans. And instead of Republicans looking at themselves in the mirror and being like, boy, why are we getting smoked in these races? What's going on in Johnson County? They were like, the machines, Fred Sherman and the machines. It's like, goodness gracious. I mean, grow up. First off, these things are handled by the state. The state is really where your election law comes from and where your election rules come from. You got Chris Kobach and Scott Schwab in the mix here. Not exactly, two woke lefties by any stretch of the imagination as the Attorney General and the Secretary of State. And somehow there was a contingent of people in Johnson County that were convinced that Fred Sherman was part of this larger cabal to flip Johnson County left. It's like, stop. And he got, I think, unfairly beat up at times over the last few years. So he is sailing off into the sunset, and I don't know him personally. Seems like a decent guy, and we wish him well.
Number 5.
Well, big news popped yesterday afternoon. The future home of the Royals and the Chiefs up in the air, as we well know. Yesterday, you had the Kansas Department of Commerce saying that it's in active discussions with the Chiefs about the possibility of building a new stadium and related facilities in Kansas, saying that it would be a massive economic win. You had multiple sports radio hosts also reporting the Chiefs are expected to attend the Legislative Coordinating Council meeting scheduled on Monday in Topeka. Now, I'm going to have on Senate President Ty Masterson at 8:30 this morning. You want to make sure that you're here on KCMO. He's in charge of that Legislative Coordinating Council meeting that takes place on Monday in Topeka, where apparently there could be some news around the future of the Chiefs and or the Royals coming across the state line. This is, and I talked to him last night briefly. The only interview that he is doing this morning is going to be right here on KCMO Talk Radio. So make sure that you are tuned in, whether it's on 95.7 FM, set the preset right now, or you can stream us on your Alexa, on your Google Home, or on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Any of those places, you can hear it as well. But this obviously got a lot of attention yesterday. You heard from many folks who are acting like it's a done deal. They're going to Kansas, but we'll have to wait and see. And we'll find out more from Ty Masterson coming up at 8:30.
Number 6.
And speaking of border wars and tax giveaways, Leawood is making a big swing here. Leawood unanimously approved development plans for a 34-acre mixed-use project just south of State Line Road and I-435. The Hallbrook North project features a 444,000-square-foot headquarters, 145-room hotel, 2 luxury apartment buildings, and a parking garage. But there's a catch. Leawood's agreement to support the $760 million project is predicated on Lockton or a Lockton affiliate being the anchor office user for the development. Of course, the prominent Kansas City insurance broker has been on the plaza for years, and they have not made a decision. But there you go. That's something that could be coming to Leawood as well. In another example of the border war. What happened to that truce from all those years ago? That's dead. There's your 6 at 6. Kendall Gammon will be here coming up next. We're hanging in there. I know, no playoffs since 2014, but you know what? There's still a team to root for, or maybe root against. Is that actually better? I don't know. Let's talk to Kendall Gammon. Of course, our Chiefs insider, getting set for the Chiefs-Titans coming up at noon, and it is brought to you by Xfinity. Sports are unpredictable. The price of your internet should not be. Introducing the 5-year price guarantee, one consistent internet price, 5 years, no annual contracts guaranteed. All right, Kendall, if you're Andy Reid, if you're Brett Veach, how are you handling these final 3 games? Do you want to win them or not?
You do want to win them. That's always the case. I understand why people think, well, we should lose, and it gets us a higher draft pick and things like that. But in the grand scheme of things, unfortunately, having been in this position several times during my career, it doesn't change what you're trying to do each and every week. But I do understand. Now, the one thing that's different is you're probably going to insert some people that maybe you wouldn't have played otherwise, because while it counts, it doesn't completely matter in terms of the game. So you want to see some young talent. And this is the one thing that the Chiefs haven't been able to do for the last 10 years, essentially. So they've got to take advantage of this, which is try to reset a little bit and make sure that this is just a one-year blip.
So basically go out there, see what you've got on this roster, and see if you got guys that you can build around going into the next couple of years, right? That's what you want to see happen these final 3 games?
Yeah, absolutely. And you want to see it done in a competitive way. And that's what will happen. I have no doubt about that. But yeah, you're right. And people are right. I mean, you want to see, the depth that you have on this team and where you need to go and try to figure out your weaknesses. Not that you haven't figured them out already, but again, you're just starting to prepare for next season earlier than normal.
All right, Kendall. So what do you think the mindset is? I mean, so many guys in this locker room, obviously, don't even know what it's like to not be in an AFC championship game, never mind not make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is it a humbling moment, you think, in that locker room right now? Is there almost a shell shock approach to what's going on right now? What is it like when they step on the field on Sunday playing a 2-12 team in the Tennessee Titans and knowing full well that, you know what, for them, they're all in the same boat right now?
Yeah, Pete, you bring up a valid point, and you're right. You are shell-shocked a little bit, I think, when you've never experienced anything, as you said, which is crazy to think, but is the truth, never having played in an AFC championship game and whatnot. So it is humbling, but at the end of the day, and this is something I think gets lost, is the players are playing each and every week for their job and for next year and everything. And it's even more elevated because of what's going on. But yeah, this is something, there's a lot of questioning inside the locker room, I would think, in terms of, and which is, I agree. I still think this on paper and some stats is a better team than last year, but obviously that's not the case in terms of what has happened. So you just have to kind of accept it and not dwell on it and really start to control your mindset of where you want to go, how you want to do things.
All right. Is there something then that as you go into Sunday, a position group or a couple of players that you're intrigued by, that you want to see, maybe define exactly what they are, who they are, and if they can be a part of this team for the long term?
I probably think the biggest one for me, Pete, is the running back position and Rashard Smith, and let him have the ball a little bit more and see how he does, because this is somebody they like out of the backfield. They threw him the ball a little bit. He only had 1 year of running back under his belt in college. He'd been a wide receiver otherwise, and so trying to make the transition. So I think that's a big one, because there's other positions as well we can talk about, but the running back position this year was by committee, and we don't have long speed in terms of breaking through that first level and getting to the second or third and getting chunk plays or even taking it the distance. So that's one that I really want to look at. The other ones that I'm concerned about still is offensive line, only because of the depth and the injury situation, and the defensive line, but I don't know, who we're going to see new there. We just have to try to evolve in that position and get better and figure out. And it's hard to think that you wouldn't go defense in the draft next year if you had a chance in terms of getting an edge rusher, because not getting home to the quarterback with just 4 rushing this year has been an issue for the Chiefs.
It has been. And we know that Chris Jones is getting older. George
Right.
Karlaftis, he got a big extension last year. You think that was a mistake?
No, I don't. I think you have solid players like that have high motors, that they play for a long time and they play well. That's not to say that you wouldn't like to see more production, but also I think you need other players playing well, and he's not a franchise defensive end, I don't think, as opposed to somebody who is well above average and can play for a good decade and play at a high level. So, I would agree with what you said.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and they just swing and miss. Like the K-State guy, Felix Anandike. I mean, he hasn't done squat in 2 years. He was a first-round pick. You remember right here in Kansas City, the K-State guy gets picked in KC, and I mean, he's been nowhere to be found on that defensive line. So, I mean, outside of quarterback, would you say that is the most important position in today's NFL, edge rusher?
Yeah, I think so, because we talk about QB being the most important position. So if that's the case, and I believe it is, just like you said, well then making life uncomfortable for the opponent's QB and rushing him and trying to make things difficult, I think is the most imperative thing. And right now, that's something the Chiefs just haven't been able to do unless they bring 5 or 6. And the minute you bring more than just 4 rushers, now you're compromising your defensive pass coverage as well. So, yeah, that's something that's huge. As far as Felix, I think he's dealt with some injuries, and so I think that was something that has hurt him as well. But I know certainly his rookie year he didn't perform.
Anything at all with the Titans this weekend that is intriguing, compelling, that you think Chiefs fans should know about going into this game?
Probably the only thing that comes to mind for me doesn't have anything to do with the players itself, but who their coach is going to be next year, because we could have as many as 8 different coaching changes in the NFL this year at the end of the season. We'll see who keeps their jobs and who goes. But hearing Mike McCarthy is a big candidate for Tennessee, and of course he was in Green Bay. He came through Kansas City as a position coach, and of course played football at Baker University. So I guess a local kid to a degree, obviously. But and that says something when that's what I come up with for what's interesting, because the game itself is not going to be unbelievably interesting, except if you start to look at it in the way that we discussed, which is figuring out where we go from here.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. My oldest, though, she's 7. She's been alive, obviously, 7 years, and all she's seen is AFC championship games. So this is a good chance to, teach the kids, hey, part of being a fan is being there through thick and thin, and you're going to be rooting for them on Sunday if you're a real fan. That's how it works, right?
You're exactly right. You got it down pat.
All right. Well, before we get to a prediction from you, I'm sure you saw all the stadium hoopla from yesterday. So does Kendall Gammon have a take on where he wants to see the Chiefs play in 2030?
Well, I think no matter what, we're going to see him in the KC metro area. I've been pretty, I don't know if it's vocal, but I've had the same opinion since things happened, which was Arrowhead had served its purpose. You couldn't continue to put lipstick on that, and it was wonderful. And I feel like the best position is out at the Legends in that area, and that's fully where I expected it to go. And I think that will be good for a lot of reasons. I understand from the Kansas City side of Missouri, that's disappointing and frustrating, but they did have a chance to pass some things, and it didn't go the way the vote liked. So it is what it is, and you go from here. But I think the most important thing is the Kansas City Chiefs stay here.
All right. So now for Sunday, noon kick against the Titans. The Kendall Gammon prediction is what?
Yeah, I think Gardner Minshew and company manages to create some offense, and not a ton, but I'm going to go with Kansas City 21-17.
21-17. That would cover what is a 3.5-point spread right now in favor of the Chiefs. All right, Kendall, we'll talk on Monday.
Sounds good. Take care, Pete.
All right. See you later. Kendall Gammon. Good to have him on KCMO Talk Radio. He's going back to the well. You guys ready to go back to the well? Chiefs going to get a win in Tennessee, Mark?
I think that they do get a win. I think it's going to be ugly, as always. Going to be low scoring, as we've seen many times this year. 17-13 Chiefs.
All right. John, Ooh. How about you, my man?
Yeah, I wish I knew more about Tennessee's ineptness. I'm going to say I'm not rooting for their bad luck to end. I hate to see them lose out per se and root for that, but I guess that wouldn't be a bad thing. I'll just say they're going to lose by a field goal. I'll take Mark's score in the reverse order.
I'm with you, John. I'm going to say 2017 loss. Gardner Minshew,
I like the guy, but we're not. It's a step down.
Yeah, and I do think there's going to be some of what Kendall said, giving guys chances, and they
I'd rather
should do
see
that. I'd rather see it
I'd rather
too.
see them lose and a bunch of new faces play. I want maybe Brennan Stool,
Yes,
some tight end, as he said, Brashard Smith.
Exactly. I want to see those guys. I mean, that's good for the future of the team. I want to see those guys out there. I want to see what they've got, and even if they lose the game, I think that's better for the franchise to see what those guys have.
Yeah, bench Rasheed Rice and start Jalen Royals.
Yeah, someone brought up that name last night to me. We were out for a birthday party. Yeah, Jalen Royals, let's see what he's got. Let's go. So I'm with you there, John. I'm going to say 2017 Chiefs lose the game, but there's always a lot of good that can come out of that as well if you're learning about guys and where they might stack up for the future. Yeah. We've got the O'Reilly Morning Update. 1 hour from now, your last chance at tickets to see Chicago and Styx at Morton Amphitheater next summer. So your final chance at 8:15 this morning on KCMO. Ty Masterson, the Kansas Senate president, on the stadium drama ahead of Monday's meeting. He'll be here at 8:35 this morning on KCMO. So yesterday, President threw a couple of federal holidays out there for federal workers. And I'm like, what are we turning into Europe here? What's going on? We'll get the details next.
Hey, it's Vince Colonnese. Catch my new show at 11 o'clock after Kevin Keatsman on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
President Trump yesterday giving federal workers 2 additional days off for Christmas, according to an executive order signed yesterday afternoon. Federal employees affected by the order will be able to stay home on December 24th and December 26th. For many, this effectively creates a 5-day holiday break when you include Christmas Day and the weekend. So when I first saw this yesterday, I was confused because the way that it was framed was that Trump basically made December 24th and December 26th federal holidays. And I'm like, wait, hold on. Yeah, no. But then I was like, oh, it's just for this year. Okay. All right. So I took a step back and I was like, all right, that's fine. But the way it was framed, like I saw the story from Axios, and it says Christmas Eve and the day after Christmas are now going to be 2 new federal holidays, according to the administration. And I'm like, what are we just making up holidays now? The guy's putting his name on the Kennedy Center and now he's just making up holidays? Like, no. By the way, federal employees get plenty of time off. It's a good gig. I'm not knocking it if you do it. I'm just saying, there's a lot of time off. But then I'm like, okay, it's just for this year. Slowed down, much less bothered by it. Let's be honest. There was probably no work that was going to get done anyway on Christmas Eve or the Friday after Christmas, which is the 26th this year. And there's going to be plenty of agencies where you got to have people working anyway, right? It's not like the whole FBI is just going to magically shut down. It's like they did that here. They added holidays for us. They added, I think, the 26th and then January 2nd. Our CEO, Mary Berner, announced that a couple of months back. Now, I'm going to be here on January 2nd. That's a Friday. That's when I'll be back here doing the show after some time off around Christmas. And I'm just like, well, I got to get in here. There's work to be done before the weekend, so I'll just work that Friday. I mean, it is what it is. And it's the same thing for certain government agencies. And I guess Trump's like, you know what? I fired 300,000 of these people this year. The ones that are left, I'll give them a little extra time off. I mean, what a nice man, right? What a guy.
Such a nice man.
So whatever. I'm not bothered by it after I understood the story a little bit more. They got 2 extra days this year at a time when very little is going to get done. So be it. Now, speaking of what's going on nationally, there is a Turning Point USA big conference happening. It started last night. And, of course, this is the first major Turning Point USA annual event since the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And you had a lot of people speaking last night. I saw Ben Shapiro and Tucker Carlson and all these, different folks involved with the organization who were speaking. Erica Kirk spoke. I am a huge supporter and fan of Erica Kirk. She has been through hell over the last 3 months. Losing her husband with the whole world watching, 2 little kids at home, trying to navigate this new world personally while also becoming the CEO of Turning Point USA. I mean, she has been, I think, amazing. She's been unfairly attacked by wackos and crazy people, in part like, Candace Owens. So I feel for her. But I heard her say this last night in her speech, talking about 2028. And I'm just like, it's kind of early for this. Can we just pump the brakes a hair?
We're going to ensure that President Trump has Congress for all 4 years. We are going to get my husband's friend, J.D. Vance, elected for 48 in the most resounding way possible.
Listen, I'm a big J.D. Vance fan. If he ends up as the 2028 nominee, I'm not going to sit here and be upset about it at all. But it's December of 25. I have no idea what's going to happen between now and, 24 months from now, let's say the end of 27, to know whether or not he's still going to be the best guy. Like, I know that they're friends. Personally, they're very good friends. The families are friends, so I respect the loyalty to that. But I'm telling you, and I heard this from someone who has run presidential campaigns as recently as a month ago. There is not going to be a coronation of J.D. Vance. And by the way, there shouldn't be. Now, he may be the best guy, and I may end up being his biggest fan. I mean, I'm a fan of his right now. But go back 12 months. You had Democrats and, many Republicans, but even Democrat voters who were like, this whole coronation of going Biden to Kamala, no, we should have had some kind of primary. Well, if we're just going to sit here and then coronate our own guy for 28, that's awfully hypocritical, especially if we're going to knock the way it was just handled with the Democrats last year, right? So I don't know. I want to see this thing be open. If JD's the guy, then you know what? May the best man or woman win. And if it's JD, great. And I would say he's definitely the front runner in my book personally. And I know for many people right now, he's the front runner. But I'm not just handing it to anyone on something that's, 2.5 years out from happening. Not on board with that. What I am very intrigued by is the president yesterday announcing that he's moving marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 drug. At first, I was like, But the more I read about it, the more I hear about it, the more open and supportive I am of it. Someone who has been very active in Missouri on this issue is Apin Thampi. He is a lobbyist with great state strategies. He's a big supporter of this. He was involved in it, and he'll join us next.
From Gladstone to Gardner, you're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
So yesterday was a very intriguing move for the President of the United States. Got a lot of pushback from Republicans on this. There were a couple of dozen Republican senators who wrote a letter to the President saying, don't do this, but he did it anyway. And that is rescheduling marijuana from a Schedule I drug, where it was at with heroin and cocaine, to a Schedule III drug, which is where it is now. And that's more in line with testosterone and ketamine and Tylenol and things like that. We are happy to welcome on and say good morning to someone who knows this industry very well in Missouri, Apin Thampi. He is a lobbyist with Great State Strategies here in Missouri. He joins us on KCMO. Of course, Missouri has now recreational marijuana. The state of Kansas does not have anything available when it comes to marijuana. Apin, good morning. Thanks for being here on KCMO in Kansas City. Why is this a win in your book?
So what the president did yesterday was direct the attorney general to make this designation under federal law to make marijuana legal by prescription. So what you're going to see is marijuana therapeutics become available throughout the traditional healthcare system. You're going to see a lot more clinical research. You're going to see clinical trials happening. I believe I heard Robert Kennedy in the press conference yesterday even say that Medicare and Medicaid will start covering some of these therapies, especially for seniors, within the next year.
But it's only going to be in states where it's currently legal, right?
No, this is a federal designation. So you're actually going to see, the VA be the first significant mover on this, but because this is federally illegal, states do not have the power to block it.
So you're telling me, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. You're telling me that, like in Kansas, where obviously there is no medical marijuana, no recreational marijuana, the VA in Kansas will be able to basically give marijuana-based prescriptions to veterans?
Yes.
You sure about this? Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm trusting you. You're the expert here. So you're telling me that's going to be the move.
Yeah. So and I don't see physicians or hospitals prescribing botanical marijuana. I think you'll see more pharmaceutical grade things like transdermal patches or pills or various medical preparations, tinctures, the like. But yes, you will see. This is a federal policy change, right? So, in 1970, Congress enacts the Controlled Substances Act, which has marijuana as a Schedule I prohibited drug, right? So at 55 years later, President Trump decides to change this classification, citing FDA review of the subject, and a lot of the science has come out since then, showing significant benefits for specific issues, everything from PTSD to chronic pain to cancer therapy. There's benefit from medical marijuana.
Okay.
And this is something that I think we know.
But the FDA has not been able to research any of this, right? Because it was a Schedule I drug. So now it opens up the FDA to do research on this. And that's where I want to go next with Apin Thampi, lobbyist with Great State Strategies in Missouri, on this marijuana rescheduling. How much research do you, I mean, I know that, there's research out there, but how much research now do you want to see the federal government do on this front, and what that may ultimately lead to for marijuana?
So, during the president's press conference yesterday, there was several research physicians who specifically talked about being able to do clinical trials for thousands and thousands of individuals. So this rescheduling removes a lot of the existing barriers to that kind of research. And every human being, we have what's called an endocannabinoid system. We have receptors for for these molecules pervasively throughout our bodies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have a basic understanding of how it works and why this is a therapy that touches a lot of issues. Chronic pain is probably the biggest issue with most Americans, especially in the senior population. And one of the big arguments for this was marijuana. I'm not saying it has no risk or certain people shouldn't use it, but by and large, it is a effective therapy for things like chronic pain, and often is used as an alternative or to get people off of prescription opioids.
Well, I wanted to go there next. One thing that obviously, I've heard from people over the last 48 hours on this is, hey, Big Pharma's not happy about this. They'd rather push some opioids and pills on people. And if suddenly there are treatments that are marijuana-based that may be a little more natural, Big Pharma is going to be unhappy. Is that your read on this? And if so, what does that mean?
I don't talk to Pfizer or Eli Lilly, but I don't really see a reason for quote unquote Big Pharma to be unhappy. This is an opportunity for pharmaceutical companies, big and small, to invest in new therapies and a new line of therapies. Everything from regenerative stem cell research to chronic pain to PTSD treatments. The first FDA-approved clinical trial of marijuana in 50 years was approved about 10 years ago it was conducted by Dr. Sue Sisley, who studied its effects on intractable PTSD in military veterans.
Mm-hmm.
And the barrier she had to overcome to get the trial approved was very significant. And then to conduct the trial was very difficult because of the existing Schedule I barriers. But the president has taken a very bold and decisive action and said,
mm-hmm.
let's move this to a classification where all these things are much more possible.
So this opens up Big Pharma in some respects to do more research with marijuana-based things that maybe they have not been able to do because of the Schedule I classification?
Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Well, Apen, thank you very much for hopping on KCMO. Appreciate the time.
It's always good to speak to you, and I'm happy to see the president take. Yeah, this is a bold and decisive action by the president. It was a very difficult decision, but only President Trump could have made this decision, and it's the right one for a lot of people in the United States, and I know a lot of people are very grateful for his action today.
All right. Good deal, Apen. Thank you very much, my man.
Take care.
All right. Apen Thampy, lobbyist, great state strategies. He has been a supporter of, I guess, marijuana in general. I don't know how else to say it. In the state of Missouri for a long time, lobbying on that front. On the text line, Pete, is this your first wake and bake guest call-in? Now, that's not fair. I mean, make of it what you want. Everyone's got a different style. And I don't know what people are doing down in Jeff City this morning on a Friday. Maybe they're celebrating Red Friday a little early. I mean, Apen's got a lot to celebrate right now. He's been on this for a long time. I've never had him on the show, but I've met him at various Missouri political events over the years. Very nice guy, very in tune with the weed thing. And I figured today was a good day to have him on. And, what he did beforehand is up to him, not my business.
Some people celebrate Red Friday and others Green Friday.
Christmas.
It's 420 somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Well, it's 7:43 here in Kansas City. Glad you're joining us on KCMO. Half hour until the Chicago and Styx tickets. Final giveaway on that this morning on 95.7 FM. And then Ty Masterson is going to join us as well at 8:35. He is the Kansas Senate president, and he is obviously the leader of the Legislative Coordinating Council. And that Legislative Coordinating Council is in charge of whether or not the Chiefs and the Royals get their star bonds approved. 913-408-7957. You can join us as we have this conversation right now on what's going on when it comes to marijuana, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And also, there was another medical announcement yesterday that was great coming out of the White House. All next with your calls.
from the nation's heartland. You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
The rescheduling of marijuana got a lot of attention yesterday after the President of the United States made the announcement that it will go from a Schedule 1 with heroin and cocaine to a Schedule 3. And this is something that Joe Biden considered doing at the end of his term. It didn't end up happening. I don't know if he couldn't find the auto pen. It got lost. It ran out of ink. I don't know. But Biden never did it. Trump now is doing it. Move it from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 drug, which is beneficial for those in the banking community. There are also now research benefits that can come out of this as well. So there's a lot. 913-408-7957. Mike is in Shawnee. Mike, what's up, man?
Yeah, Pete. I don't know if you saw Mike Thompson's email yesterday, but he came out strongly against this decision. And his reasonings were basically, it was a ploy to get the banks to start accepting this marijuana money that they can't now under number 1 instead of number 3. So I encourage you to get him on there and get his side of the story.
Absolutely. I will talk to Mike. Mike and I have talked over the last couple of days about this. Obviously, he's not a fan. Mike Thompson, the former meteorologist, now Kansas State Senator out of Shawnee. He put out a statement yesterday. He said, I know for a fact that Senator Roger Marshall does not like this. He says here, the move also gives the appearance of legitimacy to a drug that has never been approved by the FDA because it has no known medicinal use and it is prone to abuse and highly addictive to users. He says it's the classic definition of a Schedule 1 drug. Now, I think Mike is a great state senator, and I will reach out to him, and I've just got a busy morning. I'll get him on Monday because the story's not going anywhere. Listen, I've seen a lot of people who have benefited from the medicinal use of marijuana. It keeps people off of the opioids, which are highly addictive. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you want to talk about addictive drugs? Look at some of these pills they're pushing on these people, and kids too. And not that I want everybody walking around stoned. I mean, marijuana could be legal tomorrow in Kansas where I live, and I wouldn't go to the pot shop. It's not my thing, okay? There's one time I can think of on one hand the amount of times I've tried marijuana. And each time I just want to eat a lot of cheeseburgers. That's it. I don't have any interest. At some point this morning, I'll tell my story about smoking pot with Haley Joel Osment. That's the only kind of notable pot story I ever have. The kid from Sixth Sense. That's it. That's all I've got. So it's not my thing. It's not about what I would do. But I have seen people benefit tremendously and avoid the opioids because of it. And if now the FDA can go out there and do more investigation and research into it and get people away from the pills, I'm intrigued by that. I want more research, not less research. I want more data. That's what I want. And frankly, with the way that the big pharma industry is operated, not that I'm against modern medicine. I'm not against modern medicine at all. But the way that industry has operated for far too long and some of the downsides and the addictive nature of these things that we've seen over the last generation, I'm willing to hear more. That's where I'm at. 913-408-7957. Tom in Tonganoxie. Go ahead, Tom.
Hey, Pete, first-time caller. I got a couple of points. One, it almost sounds like a Nancy Pelosi Obamacare bill when she said we got to pass it before we know what's in it. My question is, shouldn't they do the research before they pass something like this? And then,
well, I think the point, my understanding is the FDA could not do the research because it was a Schedule 1 drug. Now that it's Schedule 3, they can do more research. That's my understanding.
And then, I was in the military in the early 70s to mid-70s, and these veterans that come back from Vietnam and Thailand and these countries, some of them come back addicted to drugs. and you can't tell they can't tell me that marijuana is not a gateway drug to harder things.
Mm-hmm.
And what about the VA? And if the VA can give out this drug here, I don't know how long it's going to take before they start doing it. What about these guys that were addicted to drugs in the military? I mean, and what's it going to do to them?
I don't know. I mean, but I don't know what any of the pills do to them either if they have some need for some kind of medicine, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So I don't know. I just want to learn more. Jody, go ahead. You're on KCMO.
Hi, I'm a hospice nurse, and several years ago they used synthetic marijuana. It's called Marinol in treatment for nausea and appetite stimulant during chemo and radiation.
Mm-hmm.
Worked very well. Was not addictive, and they took it off the market, of course. You can barely get an order for it. It did help, and it does have a purpose. I'm not a marijuana person, but I have seen the results of it. So there is option.
Well, thank you, Jody, and I hope that that's something that does get more attention and more research as this now gets rescheduled by President Trump. James in Lenexa. What's up, James?
Hey, how are you doing this morning?
I'm well. What's going on?
The last caller just kind of stole my quote. I've been a pharmacist for 25 years. I worked at Leavenworth, and they gave Marinol out to help with, chronic pain, like cancer patients and things like that. So, and it is a Schedule III drug. I think they've used it. It's been taken away, but you can still get it if you meet certain criteria.
Mm-hmm.
But so I think that, medical marijuana has a place in healthcare, but I think it will be abused. Like they use it for people that have glaucoma. And I assume there'll be a lot more people getting glaucoma within the next few years.
Yeah.
When it becomes available. But yeah, it does have a place.
Yeah. And I think that's what people want to know more about. So I appreciate that.
Right. And I think the increased research will help with some.
Yeah. And that's what it's about. Right. That's what I mean. That just do more research. All right, Mike in Leawood, real quick. Mike, what's going on?
Hey, Pete. I love the conversation. I've got a couple of good friends in the industry. They're both physicians. One's a psychiatrist. The other one is in the drug testing. He's actually has to sign off on drug tests for large corporations and that. And I'll tell you, both of those individuals are vehemently against this just because of what they've seen anecdotally over the last decade is marijuana leading to opioid addiction, not less.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that research is going to come out, and it's unfortunate, but I think over time we're gonna look back at this and probably say, gosh, maybe this wasn't the right decision.
Yeah, and that's I'm okay with that too. Like I don't know where the research is going to trend. I don't have an opinion on where the research trends. I'm all about getting more data. I mean, God knows when it comes to the health issues and the topics we've discussed over the last few years, dating back to COVID and shots and things like that. I want more information, not less. On the text line, Pete, I overdosed as a kid. I ate too many Flintstone vitamins because they tasted so good. Who hasn't OD'd on Flintstone vitamins? Come on, especially if you grew up in the 90s. News in 2 minutes. We've got a busy 8 o'clock hour. Stadium news, Chiefs, Chicago Sticks tickets, and more next. Well, I guess I could just tell it now real fast since some people are asking on the text line. 804, it is great to be here on a Red Friday on KCMO Talk Radio. It's turned into a Green Friday around here with all the pot smoking conversations we're having after the President of the United States rescheduled marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 drug yesterday. And that's obviously been met on both sides of our state line with questions and pushback and support. I mean, and it doesn't really matter. The politics are irrelevant. You've got Republicans saying this is great. I think most Democrats probably think it's good. Some Republicans don't. It's all over the map. But real quick, it doesn't matter to me. You know, I live in Kansas. They obviously do not have recreational or even medical marijuana. If they did, it wouldn't matter to me. I wouldn't use it. It's not my thing. Only tried it a couple of times and not my cup of tea. But there was one notable time, bumped into Haley Joel Osment, the kid from Sixth Sense. I was at NYU in the fall of 2006 visiting a high school friend, and he was buddies with Haley Joel Osment, who was also there. I think he was also a freshman or a sophomore, which is what I was when I went to visit. And he was in the film school. They got this big, as you would imagine at New York University, big fancy film school. A lot of notable people end up going there. And my friend happened to be friends with Haley Joel Osment. I don't know why. I don't really remember why. But he says, hey, we're going to go hang out with them. And I guess they were maybe pot smoking buddies or whatever it was. So I go over there and he's like, hey, just act cool. Don't say anything stupid. Just famous last words, right, John? That's how it always goes. But,
cool,
I'm 18.
Man, cool.
Yeah. I'm 18. And then, they're smoking pot. And I don't typically do that. But, when in Rome, right? So then I start asking all these stupid questions about Sixth Sense and Bruce Willis and filming the movie and what it was like. And my friend's just sitting there with his head in his hand. Like, I told this guy to shut up, not say anything, not embarrass me. And to this day, because I was there with a couple other buddies, to this day, they still give me a hard time over how nosy I was 18, 19 years ago now, John. I still can't live that one down, man.
Chris Farley, character of Saturday Night Live. Remember that time you saw dead people? That was great.
That was awesome. What was it like, man? No, exactly. It was just, listen, 18, doing something you don't typically do, start acting like a fool. It happens.
Well, the brain goes on an inquisitive trail. Unfortunately, it can go down a dead end.
Well, think about it. Part of what I do now is ask questions for a living, so I should have seen this coming almost 20 years ago.
I would have asked him how his dad, Forrest Gump, was doing. People forget he was in Forrest Gump.
Yeah, you're right about that. You're right about that, Mark. Jeez. That is going back a little bit. You're right.
That probably would have stumped him. Was I in that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
At that point in the conversation, it would have been like that. Probably.
You're right. He would have been like that. So
was
true.
I in that movie?
Oh, man.
Let's watch it and see.
He was very pleasant. He was totally fine about the whole thing. I just think I embarrassed my friend because they were just kind of getting to know each other. They were like 6 weeks, 7 weeks into freshman year of college. That's always an awkward time in life anyway, But we all made it work, and I have not lived that story down 20 years later. So that's how it goes. And I think he's doing all right. I think he's had a little bit of trouble as an adult, but he's still active in filmmaking and things like that. So the other big medical thing that came down yesterday, the Trump administration announcing a further crackdown on gender-affirming care, as they dub it here, basically, abusing children as far as I'm concerned. It would make it almost impossible for hospitals to provide care to kids. I'm trying to reframe this because I'm reading this from like NPR and some of the national outlets. So I'm trying to rewrite their story as it should correctly be written. Exactly. I'm kind of translating this out of how they frame it. But here's what the Department of Health and Human Services announced yesterday. And then I have a Dr. Oz clip here. Barring any hospital from providing gender-affirming health care to trans youth from participating in the Medicare and Medicaid programs. Such care would include puberty blockers, hormone therapy, and surgical operations. Prohibiting Medicaid funds from covering gender-affirming care for trans youth under the age of 18. And Children's Health Insurance Program, CHIP, funds from covering such care for trans minors under the age of 19. Dr. Oz talked about this yesterday. Here's what he said.
American taxpayers should not have to foot the bill for ideologically driven experiments on our nation's youth, and hospitals that we deem must meet the minimum quality standards of care and safety should not be conducting these experiments when we know so little about what is happening with our youth. Now the important part. For these reasons, and I can go on and on, this document, the white paper that the Secretary commissions over 300 pages long, we're taking major steps at CMS to stop a funding process that has led to irreversible medical interventions with two major actions. The first, we're announcing a notice of proposed rulemaking that ends taxpayer funding of sex-rejecting procedures for children in Medicaid and CHIP, full stop. We don't provide health care to every child, but at 53%, we've got most, and we're not going to let taxpayer money go to hurt these children, and those children will no longer be hurt with this ideology.
That's my man. Woo! That's my man right there. Well done by Dr. Oz, RFK, and the Department of Health and Human Services. That's it. You want to be an adult, and when you get to be an adult, you want to do whatever you want to do. You know what? That's your prerogative. That's on you. All right? You can't use taxpayer money. We're not paying it. But it's still America, and as much as I would try to talk you out of it if you were a friend or a family member and I loved and I cared about you, I'm not going to stop you. But when it comes to child abuse, I mean, we're talking about this over the last 20 minutes or so when it comes to marijuana, what people should be allowed to do. We're talking about kids. We're talking about kids whose brains are not close to being fully developed, making decisions in conjunction, let's be honest, oftentimes with their overly woke parents to alter their gender, to change their body parts at an age when they don't know, in some cases, how to do multiplication. But we're allowing them to decide that they're not the gender that they were made in the image of God? Nah, I'm out. And you know what? I've been out since this whole conversation started. And now we've got an executive branch with the cojones, no pun intended here on this conversation, to actually do something about it. To actually stand up, by the way, for the kids who don't know what they're doing. And parents who are overly eager to go out there and make sure that they look good. Let's be honest. This thing has become so deranged and driven by politics and driven by ideology that nobody is clear-minded on this. We talk about how young people can't rent cars, can't buy a gun, can't smoke pot if they're in a state where it's legal, can't have a beer. But we think that they're ready to make a decision of this nature? Nah. And putting the screws to the hospitals, by the way, is exactly how this needed to go. Because it's going to be nearly impossible for any of this stuff to go through because the hospitals, they need the Medicare and the Medicaid money. I mean, many of them can't survive without it. So now you've got this administration saying, you know what? This is how we're going to protect the kids. It's always about the money, okay? Show me the money. It's always about the money. Haley Joel Osment was not in Jerry Maguire, just to set the record straight. That little kid, though, was cute, though, in Jerry Maguire. It's always about the money. Follow the money. And when you squeeze people on the money, suddenly these hospitals are going to be like, I guess I can't do this anymore. And in many cases, I believe the hospitals have been doing it because of the money. There's a tremendous amount of money in the abuse and mutilation of children. And for too long, they've gone along with it. And now that racket is coming to an end. And thank goodness for that. So having a big, round of applause here. And this is why, I understand that a lot of people are not fans of RFK. And is he the most conservative guy ever? No, he's not a pro-life guy. I disagree with him on that issue. But on some of these key things that he's been a part of with the Make America Healthy Again movement, with issues like this, standing up for kids, he's not in charge of the abortion topic. He's got nothing to do with that. I don't want him being involved in that. I disagree with him on that. But on these things that he's been in charge of with Health and Human Services, along with Dr. Oz, they've been really good so far. Alex, you're on KCMO. What's up, man?
It's always a beautiful day listening to the show, man.
Thank you, brother.
There's a video that I've seen online, I'm sure a lot of people have, where it's got a dad holding in his hand $1,000 in one hand and 5 Oreos in the other. And he asks the little boy, all right, which one would you like to have? And the kid picks the Oreos. Kids are more than capable of making decisions about having a surgical procedure that affects their life till they die.
Yep, that's right, man. That is. I have not seen that meme, but that is fantastic, and it really does put this.
Video.
It puts this whole thing in the context.
But it's not, and it's the child. Yeah, like another meme that says, if it weren't for these mentally ill parents, we wouldn't have transgender kids. It's the parents and the legislators that just keep pushing it.
Yeah.
Why? Why are they pushing it?
Dude, I can't get into their minds. I don't know. I really don't know.
Hey, like Rush said, liberalism is a mental disorder.
But this is so far beyond that, man. I mean, to me, there's nothing like liberalism is just political ideology, right? That, I may not agree with the vast majority of it, but it's just how you want to see policy get implemented on taxes, on foreign policy. It's all that stuff. There's nothing about this topic that inherently, to me, has anything to do with politics, but somehow it's become that way. And that's the strangest part of this whole topic and the way it's played out over the last couple of years. All right, let's do it. Your last chance right now. Chicago and Styx tickets, Morton Amphitheater, next August in Riverside. 7th caller, 913-408-7957. 913-408-7957. Hey, you join us on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM, streaming as always on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Your last chance to win is right now. Get in. Let's do it. We got Ty Masterson coming up in less than 20 minutes. He's the Kansas Senate president. He is holding the meeting coming up on Monday about the Chiefs and the Royals, their potential future in Kansas. Don't miss it. Exclusive interview, less than 20 minutes away.
from Overland Park to Parkville. You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Who won the tickets? Chicago Sticks.
We're also playing loud and clear in Lee Summit today. Rich called in, number 7, and picks up the tickets today. Our final winner for the Windy Cities Tour, August 25th at Morton Amphitheater with Chicago and Sticks.
All right. Very cool. I can always hear, I was talking to Mark about some breaking news I'll get to here in a second. But I can always hear John talking to the callers and telling old war stories about Chicago and Sticks.
That was in the third row when they come in here and the storm rolled in.
Yeah, I can hear it in the background. You two guys talking. That's great.
Oh, there's a great Moody Blues show that happened at Sandstone, and the big orchestra swells, and this wind front came blowing through. It's legendary among concert goers.
Wow. Well, speaking of the wind, we got that heavy wind blow through yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Man, in my driveway, I backed over coming out.
I know. It was, man, all the garbage pails in our neighborhood were knocked over yesterday after getting picked up. And, and then I saw there were parts of I-70 out in western Kansas that were closed yesterday due to dust storms they were having out there. So thankfully that's over, and the warm-up's going to start today as well. So, Mark, what's this breaking news that we need to be monitoring here this morning?
I guess over in Olathe at Prince of Peace Catholic Church, there's heavy police presence. They're telling there is a school there, so they're telling parents not to drop their kids off at school today.
So that's at the Prince of Peace Catholic Church in Olathe. That's about 143rd and Black Bob?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, so we find out more. If we find out more, we'll bring it to you here on KCMO Talk Radio. Ty Masterson is 10 minutes away. He is the Kansas Senate president. He obviously is one of the key decision makers in potentially approving a move to Kansas by the Chiefs and or the Royals. He is the head of this legislative coordinating council that, of course, is going to be meeting on Monday. There are rumors that one or both of these two teams could be on the docket, could be set to announce a move to the other side of state lines sooner rather than later. So he's going to be here for his only interview that he is doing in Kansas City media this morning. That is less than 10 minutes away. So I'm seeing all this, the sports talk guys went nuts yesterday and started flying off all these reports. And I'm not saying they're wrong. I don't know. I mean, at this point, I've talked to a lot of people on both sides of the state line, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you something that I can't say with certainty. There are a lot of people saying a lot of different things right now. I'll just leave it at that, right? I talked to Missouri folks. I talked to Kansas folks. I would say that Missouri is maybe as nervous as they have ever been throughout this process at the statewide level, based on some of the news and the reports and the rumors that have come out over the last 24 hours or so. I will say that much. They're not as confident as they've been. They still believe they have a very competitive offer on the table. They believe there are things that inherently benefit Missouri in this deal over Kansas. It's not as simple as like, all right, Kansas giving 70%, Missouri giving 50%. Missouri's 50% is backed by the state. There has to be a local tax component to the Missouri deal, which I understand is a hurdle because voters are involved. That's not the case in Kansas, at least not yet. But also in Missouri, the teams do not have to own the stadiums. They don't want to own these stadiums. I've heard conversations that have been happening on the Kansas side of the state line that if the Royals move there, they don't want to own the stadium. Ask yourself why that might be. They don't want to pay property taxes on these stadiums. They have no interest in doing that. Right now in Missouri, they don't have to do that, and they get tens of millions of dollars a year directly from the taxpayer. They would not get that on the Kansas side of the state line. That's money for maintenance and upgrades and things like that you will need over the years. So while you do have to get something to the voters, there's no doubt about that, whether you're the Royals in Clay County or the Chiefs in Jackson County, you can't tap into the state money unless there's a local tax component. There is a major attractiveness to getting that local direct money and just basically being able to put it in your coffers. So those are all things that still, I believe, benefit Missouri in this negotiation. It doesn't mean they're staying. I'm not saying that. But there are just some of those things that get lost, I believe, in the broader conversation as to why Missouri is in a good spot. Maybe not right now. Maybe it's all done. But they're still competitively, I think, in a better place than maybe some people give them credit for, which is fine. But I saw this quote this morning. I just was scrolling through X, and I saw this quote this morning from a sports talk radio host who likes to call himself a dog nickname. You know what that is there, Mark?
Oh.
Thank you. Got the old Basset Hound. Here's the quote. If they're headed to Topeka on Monday, then we know the Chiefs are definitely 100% moving. I do believe that deal has already been consummated. Well, I mean, that's saying two different things. If the Chiefs are going to Topeka, then they're 100% moving. But you said if they're going, meaning you don't know if they're going. And then you say the deal has already been consummated. I don't know if that's the right word, by the way. Consummated? When talking about a deal between a sports franchise and politicians?
That's only legal in some parts of the city.
I hope no one's consummating anything.
On the west side of Topeka, I believe.
I mean, what's going on between members of the Kansas legislature and Chiefs ownership? I don't know if consummated is the word that we were really going for there. I mean, listen, I talk 4 hours every day. I understand we may have the wrong word or two once in a while. It happens when you talk extemporaneously for 4 hours every morning. But let's just put it this way. This relationship's a lot deeper than I thought if there's a consummation going on here with any of this. Holy cow. And I will not be asking Ty Masterson if he has consummated anything with the Chiefs. But he will join us as the head of the LCC and the big decision maker in this process coming up next on 95.7 FM KCMO.
Hey, it's Kevin Keatsman. Stick around. I'm coming up at 10 o'clock right after Pete Mundo on KCMO 95.7 FM.
Well, it's the story that keeps on giving. Chiefs, Royals, where is their future going to be? Which side of state line is it going to be on? That's the $1 million, really the multi-billion-dollar question that's being asked around Kansas City. Coming up on Monday, as we have known for a while, there is this Legislative Coordinating Council meeting that is members of the Kansas legislature who have set this deadline on the Chiefs and the Royals saying, hey, if you guys want to come here and take advantage of these star bonds, we got to know what's going on by the end of the year. Ty Masterson chairs that committee. Of course, he's also running for governor of Kansas. He joins us on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We are always streaming as well on the iHeart and the TuneIn apps. Senator, good morning. Monday, what are your expectations as we sit here this morning?
Good morning, Pete. And I hope I'm not too disappointing for what I could say, but I can tell you this. I caught you a few minutes before your break, and I haven't consummated anything with anybody other than my wife. So.
Well, that makes me happy to hear. I was getting nervous when I see words like that getting thrown around by other people in Kansas City.
No, but I mean, and really it's not as complicated. In some ways, it's more and less complicated than it might seem. You know, we've had this deadline, the end of the year, that's been looming. So the reason the date's Monday is that's the last workable date in December that I can have the meeting. So that is why that particular date is happening. But I am expecting a proposal from the Chiefs, and I'm excited to see, you know, we'll see. It has to meet what I've been working on all this time anyway. The big important thing for me is I'm not having to, you know, raise a tax or put anybody on line of liability to have that opportunity. I'm excited to see what we can put together, but candidly, no deal is done, right, until it's done. And so I expect to review something.
Okay, so you expect to have some kind of proposal from the Chiefs. Do you know if that is for stadiums, facilities, both? What are you hoping for and looking for?
Well, what I hope for and what I see, I don't know, may or may not be the same thing, right? We obviously, you know, I'm excited to see the Chiefs stay in Kansas City area, and they've been in Missouri for 60 years. I'd love to see Kansas have them for the next 60 years. So it's an exciting opportunity. I know it's been a down year for the team, right? I mean, everything that was on the edge seemed to fall the other way, but I mean, this is an opportunity for Kansas to literally win the Super Bowl.
So you expect something from the Chiefs. So you expect the Chiefs or representatives of the team to be there on Monday in Topeka?
I do.
Okay. So you're expecting them to show up, to be there, and to be active in some kind of proposal to move something to the Kansas side of the state line. So then with that being the case, the Star Bond District, is that something that you have to have on your desk on Monday to then approve or deny?
Yes. Yeah, that's the thing because that's state level. That's what we need to see. We need to see the district, what the plan is from a, you know, statutory perspective and how we engage with the team. That's what we need to approve or not approve.
And you have to do that by the end of the year?
Correct.
Okay. So as far as you're concerned, I mean, listen, if this thing is as close as it may ultimately be to getting done, you and I have talked about this. It's got to be a reasonable Star Bond District. I mean, we can't just start going 30, 40 miles outside of a stadium or facility and say that, you know, that's going to be part of the district. So how firm do you feel like you and the rest of that board is going to be on making sure that this district is fair to the taxpayer, who I know they're not going to see their taxes go up, but if you're diverting future sales tax monies to municipalities and school districts, that does have an impact on those communities, correct?
Yeah, I mean it would. I mean that, but the local portion of the sales tax is something different. We are just talking about the state portion of that growth anyway, so it wouldn't be diverting. But we will. I am highly confident this group of mine, the LCC, are sensitive to that and going to make sure it's not something that's ridiculous.
Okay. All right. So you are going to be cognizant of that. So from your perspective then, you know, I know that the official deadline goes until June 30th, but you guys have kind of had this soft deadline for the end of the year, right? So this is a deadline that if you see what you want on Monday could technically be extended to June 30th of next year. Is that a fair assessment of the situation?
I mean, that's a technicality that I don't think is gonna happen though, because you have a couple things there. I mean, yeah, technically that's in the statute. LCC's been pretty clear. Even though it's possible It's very highly unlikely. Matter of fact, and here's what I'll tell you this. So I am the chair of this group this year, but the way our legislature works, that chairmanship and control alternates to the speaker next year. And he's actually released statements. He's been very clear. He has no intention of taking anything up next year.
Okay, and that's Chris Croft.
No, Dan Hawkins.
Oh, Dan Hawkins. Okay, speaker. Yeah, Dan Hawkins. Okay. All right, that's right. So they really, I mean, this is a deadline. So then what about the Royals in all this and where things stand with them?
Well, they're not on the agenda. I can tell you that.
But you said in a statement I saw yesterday, you believe they're committed to Kansas.
Yeah, it came from my staff, got a little bit ahead of me. And I do believe they want to come to Kansas. Their intentions are there, but there is a very tight timeline on them. So, and what I believe doesn't change the statute.
Okay. So, I mean, if the Royals are not on the agenda Monday, which you're telling me they're not, and the deadline is clear as day, December 31, it doesn't matter if they want to come. It sounds like they're not coming to Kansas.
Well, I mean, this is just relates to the Star Bonds deal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there might be opportunities outside of that, but it does create a problem.
Yeah. Okay. So as far as you're concerned right now, I mean, as you look ahead to Monday, you're sitting here and saying, right now, my focus is the Chiefs, and that's where the entire body is focused on, because you're only discussing the Chiefs, and we don't know what exactly it is, but the plan is to talk about the Chiefs on Monday at this meeting, and that's it.
100%.
All right.
Yeah, we're excited because that there's tremendous growth that'll come with that, and so we're excited to have that conversation.
Do you have any idea on what locations you're looking at for the team, on whatever it might be?
Yeah, I really can't talk anything about that, and I don't fully understand or know.
Yeah. Okay. So that's still TBD as far as you're concerned.
Yep.
So then what about, you've seen some of the blowback on what's happened with the Royals looking at 119th and Null, obviously. I mean, you've seen that. You're obviously, you're running for governor, so you know what's going on right now around the state. How do you look at this from the standpoint of the Chiefs, whatever they want to do and wherever they want to do it? We don't have any idea as to where this, I mean, we know that there's a stadium proposal potentially out by the Speedway. But if we're talking about other facilities and locations, do you feel like the local folks in these parts of Kansas should have and will have some say in terms of what exactly this looks like? Or is it just going to be, hey, this is where they want to be, and if the Star Bond District is fair, we're going to let it happen?
No, I mean, the locals are going to have a say because, at any site, no matter where in Kansas, you're going to have issues around, setback, siting, permits, whether or not they do anything or choose to do anything locally. I mean, there will be a voice. I mean, even if we do get a deal done at state level, it would be within the realm of possible for a local entity to blow it or do it.
Or do it. Okay. And then the other thing, I've thought a lot about, obviously, some of the benefits that Missouri has versus Kansas and Kansas has versus Missouri. And, Missouri, these teams don't own these stadiums. And as I understand it, that's a better deal for the teams to not own the stadiums for property tax reasons and things like that. Is there an avenue for these teams to potentially have the county or somebody else technically be the owners of these stadiums or facilities?
Yeah, I'd say there is an avenue for that. The details, obviously the devil's in the details, but there probably is an avenue for that.
Okay, but that would probably be more of a county government issue in whatever county we're talking about here than a state government issue at that point?
Yeah, I mean, my deal on that is that no Kansas taxpayer would ultimately be liable for that stadium, which is part of that conversation then.
Because you guys are not backing any of these bonds, and that's something that Missouri does think that it has a leg up on you on, is that they would back the bonds. Why is that something that you don't think necessarily holds Kansas back in this deal?
Well, because of the performance potential, right? I don't think there's going to be a high risk. I'd rather have the bondholders take the risk than the state of Kansas.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you're that confident in whatever this district ends up looking like being beneficial for everybody?
I am. I really am.
All right. And then the politics for you, just out of curiosity, I mean, the fascinating part of this for me is that you're sitting there as the chair of this LCC. You're a major decision maker. You're also in the middle of a campaign to be the next governor of Kansas. The politics of this seems like it could go either way. How are you trying to analyze that from your perspective?
Oh, the same way I've kind of done it in my career over here. if I determine it to be the best thing for Kansas, it's a real possibility. I'm going to do it, and we'll figure out the politics later. And I think this happens to be that. I think this has tremendous benefit to the state of Kansas, and we'll work to communicate that as we go on the trail.
And then ingress, egress, I mean, wherever we're talking about for whatever we're talking about, is that something that the state would pick up the tab on?
I suppose there'd be some conversation depending, but it was, but that's the beauty of a new place. You can actually design the infrastructure where you don't have the nightmare you have on game day on the Missouri side, right? You could move traffic a lot more efficiently.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll put a bow on it here. Ty Masterson, Kansas Senate President, joining us. Big meeting coming up, of course, on Monday for the Legislative Coordinating Council. The Chiefs will have a proposal in front of you. We don't know exactly what that proposal looks like. Chiefs will have representatives in Topeka as part of this proposal, but the Royals are not on the ballot, and you do not expect to have anything from them for this meeting on Monday.
That's correct.
All right. Ty Masterson, thank you as always for the time. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon. Good luck on Monday.
Appreciate you, Pete. Yeah. Merry Christmas if I don't see you.
Yeah, you as well. Merry Christmas, Ty. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
That is Ty Masterson on KCMO. There you go. No Royals. Chiefs, what are we looking at? We'll have to wait and see, I guess. We talking training camp, training facilities, practice facilities, stadiums, all the above. What do we got here?
All the above, I would say.
Mark's on all the above. Of course, Mark is.
Corporate offices, let's go.
No one's been a bigger homer on getting these teams across state line than Mark Van Parlay on the other side of the glass. By the way, he's got a parlay for you coming up. You got a good one for me here?
I think so. I think you guys are going to like this.
Not a stadium parlay. We got a Chiefs-Titans parlay.
That's
all right?
right.
Something's got to get you watching that game this weekend. Jeez. All right, we'll do that coming up here on KCMO Talk Radio as part of Buy, Sell, Hold. We do it every Friday morning at this time. And Frank Bowl, longtime Kansas City sportscaster, is going to be our feature Friday in-studio guest, 9 to 9:30 on 95.7 FM.
From Smithville to Shawnee Mission, you're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Got a couple of breaking news things we're just following here. As Mark shared about 20 minutes ago, there was a heavy police presence at Prince of Peace Catholic Church in Olathe. That's about 143rd and Merlin. Parents are being told to not drop the kids off at school there this morning. And I also just got this as well from somebody else on good authority. Holy Spirit Catholic Church in Overland Park has been evacuated as well. Parents told to pick up the kids at the middle school just to the north. So I don't know if these things are connected, what exactly is going on, but we're sitting here obviously a few days before Christmas, and you have two Catholic churches right in the Johnson County area that have been evacuated. Kids being told to either not get dropped off or get picked up at school. So we're watching that story.
On the crime app, it does say there was a bomb threat.
Okay,
So
and that's what I've been hearing. I just wanted to wait for something else to confirm it, but I've been hearing that these are tied to bomb threats that have come in to both of these locations. So we'll monitor this throughout the morning here on KCMO Talk Radio. It's a Friday. Let's do it.
It's time to buy, sell,
Have it at end, 12 and a half, 15.
and hold.
All right, John. Buy, sell, hold. 3 questions on a Friday. What's on the rundown, brother?
How about this one? Buy, sell, or hold Frank White III out at KCATA as the CEO.
Boy, it's been a tough employment year for people named Frank White around here, huh? Frank White Jr. getting booted as the Jackson County executive in, what was that, late September, late October. And now Frank White III out at KCATA. Count me in. I'm a fan. I'm buying that one. Hate to say it, but KCATA, it's not all Frank White III's fault, but he's done a poor job running that operation. Part of that is because of the free fares that just did not work. Now, that was a city council deal. That wasn't him. But at the same time, he could have been the guy to stand up against it and say why this is bad policy, why this is going to cost us. We need the money as well. And the KCATA has also been asking for more and more money from the city. I mean, they were at like $80 million budget 7-8 years ago. Now they're looking for $120 million. And like, I know inflation's a thing, but dude, you're up 50% over the last few years and your service is worse and fewer people are riding KCATA than were before COVID. I mean, they have not gotten to pre-COVID numbers on KCATA ridership. So they elected to not renew his contract at the KCATA. He's done next month. And I mean, there's nothing to suggest he deserved to stay on as the CEO. So I'm fine with that, John. I'm buying it.
Buy, sell, or hold marijuana moved from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 by President Trump.
I have struggled with this all week. I've struggled with the issue for most of my adult life because, well, I'll get to that. I'm buying it. To answer your question
I thought
first.
It might be a hold.
I'm buying it.
All
no,
right.
I'm going to buy it. I don't want to hold. I don't want to cop out on this one. I'm going to buy it. The more I read about it, the more I like it. Not because I'm a pot guy myself. I'm not. Outside of my infamous Haley Joel Osment.
New York University scenario.
Yeah, New York University pot smoking incident when I was 18 years old. It's not my thing. I don't partake. But I have seen a lot of people who have used it medicinally, who have been better off using that than going down the route of opioids and getting addicted to those things. You have people with addictive personalities. The worst thing they can oftentimes do is get involved with over-the-counter pills. They can manage it through marijuana usage. And while I don't believe that marijuana is a societal benefit by and large in any meaningful way, I also at times feel like a hypocrite saying, I'm going to have a drink tonight, but no, if you want to smoke a little pot, oh boy, doing all that thing. So I like what Trump did. Importantly, too, I want to see more research done by the FDA, supposedly now reducing that from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 can be beneficial on that front as well. And if we can get the FDA to do more research and even Big Pharma to do more research, and maybe they can get involved in the marijuana game and you can find ways to treat certain things that don't involve pills and things like that, I mean, I'm very much open to it, and I'm buying that, John. So count me in.
All right, as the season winds down, buy, sell, or hold Mark's Chiefs Titans parlay.
All right. Mark?
I think he's got a good one here.
Give me a good one, buddy. You've been on a bit of a cold streak lately because you keep thinking the Chiefs are going to win.
Got
and
a
keep losing.
strategy this time.
Hey, give me because you keep picking all these crazy offensive things, and I'm like, dude, none of this stuff's happening.
I know.
Okay?
I'm mixing it up a bit today.
All right. Give me something good.
$10 to win $116.15.
Okay.
So this is a good one, I think.
So all these things have to happen for people that don't understand parlays. This is not like horseshoes where you're close. It's you've got to have every single one of these things happen that Mark brings up to win the $116 out of a $10 bet. So go ahead. What's our friends at FanDuel got hooked up on this?
Only 4 things today. The Chiefs need to not lose the game by 10 points or more. So just keep it within 10 points. Can the Chiefs do that? I think they can.
9 points, right? I see plus 9.5 here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So they
keep
got
it under 10.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Sorry. Yes.
Total points in the game, under 38.
Okay.
So your 20-17 final score would hit the under there.
Yeah.
Gardner Minshew, under 212.5 yards passing.
Mm-hmm.
And the final one, he locked in at the end of the game last week. He locked in on Travis Kelce. I think Travis Kelce gets a touchdown this week.
You know, this is a very smart bet, Mark. This is very smart. You have an alt spread on the Chiefs losing by less. All they have to do is lose by less than 10 or win the game. It's fine, too. Under 37.5, Minshew under 212 yards, and a Travis Kelce anytime touchdown. You know, Mark, because of your creativity, I'm buying it. Well done.
All right.
I
like it, too.
I'm in, buddy. Nice job. That's a well-done parlay by Parlay Van Sickle. Frank Bowl, longtime Kansas City sportscaster, our in-studio Feature Friday guest next. Nice job there, Mark Van Sickle, coming through in the clutch, running the board here on KCMO. We got Frank Bowl, longtime Kansas City sportscaster, of course, and his show on YouTube, There's Just Something About Kansas City, or get it wherever you find your podcasts. A fellow Villanovan, Mark rolling with the Villanova fight song. Frank, good morning, my man.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy holidays to everybody out there. Good seeing you, my friend.
Yes.
It's been a while. Yeah.
And you come as a Feature Friday guest bearing gifts with a Villanova sweatshirt. Now,
yes.
Did you wear this in whatever your heyday was, 19 something?
No. That's new off the internet somewhere. I don't know where,
Mark, what do you think? It's got a nice retro look to it.
That looks cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is nice. I would never give this to Mark, but Mark would wear it. Would you wear a Villanova hoodie, Mark, or a crew neck sweatshirt?
Oh, yeah.
You would? Okay. All right. Well, this is nice.
You can
Thank
give
you,
it to
Frank.
him. He's talking with Kevin all the time. And it's funny with Keatsman, right? And the whole crew when we used to work together. I made them all when they first came learn the Villanova fight song.
Did you really?
They all know it.
You made that.
They all know the V for Villanova.
I think in today's corporate environment, that would be called abuse or something.
Yeah,
that would
no, that's
probably
okay.
not work.
That's why I don't work anymore in this industry anymore. Okay?
Maybe
there's a lot of other reasons for that too.
Yeah, well, maybe I should have John and Mark memorize. Nah, they won't do it. We've been together too long. They won't be memorizing any fight songs that I ask them to. But at least Mark could pull it up on YouTube for us. So you've got first off, there's a lot I want to talk to you about.
Sure.
The stadium drama going on right now. I mean, I booked you
by... You have to ruin my holiday?
Well, I hold on. I booked you before any of this came out yesterday.
Right.
So it was just like, hey, I wanted to have Frank in. It's been a few months. And on top of that, our Villanova Wildcats are now a football school. We're playing in the FCS semifinals.
Yes, they are.
Coming up this weekend, D1 AA football. But now yesterday we get this news that are the Chiefs going to Kansas? Are the Royals going to Kansas? What's your read on what you think is, as someone who knows this town, who has a podcast, calls There's Just Something About Kansas City?
I'd have all the inside information, wouldn't you?
Well, let me just ask you this. What do you think is best for Kansas City?
I think what's best for Kansas City is make sure they both stay here, okay, in the long term.
Yeah.
That's what's best for Kansas City, no matter where they end up.
Okay. But let's be honest. Now their team's threatening to leave.
No, and there's nobody really. I mean, there's cities out there to grab them. Okay, especially the Royals. Okay, Nashville won't grab Chiefs because they already have a team. So, but as far as the Royals are concerned, there are probably other places for them to go. But I haven't heard anything from anybody on the outside. Like you remember a bunch of years ago, we're talking about getting an NHL team.
Yeah.
And the Pittsburgh Penguins were having a tremendous problem in Pittsburgh. They couldn't get the new arena built, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they threatened, we're going to go to Kansas City. They just built a brand new arena downtown, and we can go to Kansas City or whatever. And all they were using us for leverage.
Yes.
And finally Pittsburgh said, okay, we're going to keep you.
Yeah.
Keep the Penguins and that. But I haven't heard any of that.
No, there has been any. I was actually talking to someone who is close to politicians in Nashville, and what they said to me, which I thought was interesting, was that there's no appetite in Nashville to try to bring in the Royals because they're getting slaughtered right now by taxpayers over the new Titan Stadium they've got going on there.
Yeah.
So a lot of this stuff, I mean, it's not even political. There are Democrats and Republicans who are they get queasy about taxpayer money of some kind being used for stadiums. It's just not like it was 20 years ago or so. It's a different world.
No, absolutely. And as far as that, and Nashville's a mess anyway, infrastructure.
Yes.
It's like Austin, Texas.
Yes.
They've grown so fast that they can't keep up with it. You know, and I think that's part of the problem as well.
That's so true. Yeah. So they're going to stay here. We know that in the region.
Yeah.
I mean, as someone who was covering the Chiefs and the Royals at the K and at Arrowhead Stadium, I mean, when you think back to some of those top memories, would you miss those if they left?
No, because you'd still have them. You'd still have the memories of there. Just you wouldn't be going back to that particular stadium at that time. I know there's a lot of hardcore Chiefs fans. The last place they don't want them to leave, especially if they're Missouri side fans and they're going to move to Kansas.
Yeah,
that will really stick in their craw a little bit.
Yeah, that's so
but
true.
To me, I think you can't renovate that stadium again. You can't renovate that place again. So if they're going to stay at Truman Sports Complex, do like Buffalo did, okay? Play at Arrowhead and build your new one right beside it in the parking lot, okay?
Yeah.
Everybody, both sides are sort of wanting the other side to make up their mind first.
Yes.
Well, where are you going? Where are you going? Where are you going? Where are you going? And nobody has made up their mind. But I think the Chiefs would be great if they went to Wyandotte County, if they went over past the racetrack, okay, and got out there, huge area. You have no idea how big that space is. You can have your parking lot. You can have your tailgate parties. You can do everything you want out there. You could have a retractable roof. You can have a state-of-the-art. We got the 5 best sports architecture firms in the world right here in Kansas City. They could collaborate on making it state-of-the-art, second to none stadium. Okay, you could have Final Fours. You could have college football playoffs. You could have indoor concerts during the winter. Okay, the big stadium concerts during the winter, and you guaranteed one Super Bowl if you bring them a brand new stadium. So
yeah,
those things I think really work for Kansas and being in that area. I think there's some people out there that's where they would really like to go. I think it's Clark that is sort of still in the nostalgia phase because of his dad. Loves the stadium or whatever, or being a business guy, he wants to get the most for his money. He wants to get the most that he does not have to pay for.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just see one side of the stadium or the other. I don't know. Now, the Royals, I think North Kansas City would be a great site. That area right there where they're proposing to put it would be terrific. The problem is I'm not sure they have the tax base or whatever to get it done. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think somehow the two legislatures should both be trying to keep the stadiums. I mean, if you're Mayor Q, and I know you have him on every week, and if you lose both of those stadiums to the state of Kansas, I mean, that is like, and I know it's not just Mayor Q, but it's your city.
Oh, it's a legacy destroyer for him.
It is. It really
even if it's not like mostly his fault at all.
No.
And I think both those things are true. It would destroy his legacy somewhat unfairly because it's not going to be exclusively his fault. But you know what? As the mayor who lost, air quotes, potentially both teams, you'll take the hit.
Yeah.
It's just a fact.
Yeah.
You'll take the hit. You're right about that. All right, Frank, what year did you get to Kansas City again?
1981.
1981. So you are pushing 45 years. You now got the podcast here. There's just something about Kansas City.
I was trying to retire. Okay? I was trying to retire.
Yeah, you needed something to do.
That's what my wife said. This was her idea.
Yeah.
Okay, there's just something about Kansas City. It was her idea. I didn't think I'd be the guy to do the interviews or whatever because I thought everybody would hear my name right away. They're going to think, oh, it's just another sports podcast, right away. But she said she insisted. And I dragged my feet for a while.
She was really trying to get you out of the house, huh?
She doesn't like me that much. No, I'm only kidding, honey. I'm only kidding. She loves me.
So
that's why she kept pushing for it.
Well, it's. I mean, you're doing obviously a great job with it. So what is the thing that you have learned about Kansas City doing this show now for 100 plus episodes at this point?
Yeah, 110 episodes so far. Yeah, it's been, I think at the end of each podcast, we always ask, we get back to the basic question because there's just something about Kansas City. The star of the show isn't the person, it's our city. It is the whole metro area. We try to combine both sides of the state line. And it is the people, place, and things that make it a great place to live. The top one there is the people. And I think everybody you talk to, and everybody I talk to, last thing you ask, well, what is it about Kansas City? And they'll say, well, Midwest, great place to raise the kids or whatever. And it always comes down to the people. It always comes down to the people in this city. And I think that's what basically everybody says almost the same thing, that it's just the people.
And that's from people who grew up here, but also transplants who are,
who could live
anywhere.
Who could live anywhere in the world, anywhere in the country. In fact, the first guy, and I think I told you about this when we did this, where Sarah first got the idea was we were at a Chiefs function, and I was emceeing and doing something, and she was out in the audience talking to people or whatever, and she was talking to Bobby Bell, and he started to tell her his story about Kansas City, how he couldn't buy a house, somebody poisoned his dog, the whole thing about Bobby Bell, and she's going, my gosh, but you stayed here. Well, why'd you stay? And he goes, Sarah, there's just something about Kansas City, even after all that. So she goes, there's something here. When someone like Bobby would decide to, after everything had happened to him as he was, playing football for the Kansas City Chiefs in his Hall of Fame career to stay here. So,
that's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
That's great. Frank Bohl is in studio joining us on a Feature Friday on KCMO. There's just something about Kansas City. Find it on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll take a quick break, continue with fellow Villanovan as well. Frank Bohl on 95.7 FM KCMO.
On Friday's Guy Benson show, Congressman Kevin Kiley of California, even the LA Times ripping Democrats in Southern California will tell you why. Coming up at 2 o'clock on KCMO.
Frank Bowl, of course, a longtime Kansas City sportscaster, is joining us on KCMO. He now has a podcast called There's Just Something About Kansas City. Does a great job with that. And, Frank, I just want to start with this. As you look ahead to 26 and what you guys are going to be doing, what do you think some of the defining moments and stories that you want to tell next year are going to be about? What's on your list?
Well, ours always goes back to origin, okay? Where are you from? Okay, how did, if you're a business like Peter Maluk, who did creative planning, and Jonathan Thomas at American Century, how'd you get here?
Yeah.
How'd you do this? You know, and then American Century's crossover with Stowers Institute. 40% of their profits go to Stowers. So Stowers doesn't have to get any 501c3 funding from anyone else. They get it all from American Century, so they can do their own research. Mm-hmm. They can do exactly what they want to do. So the backstories for me are extremely interesting. So, but as you move forward, I've still got Clark Hunt on my list to try to get him in. I think the only thing he's waiting for the stadium situation to get settled so they can move on to other things. But you know, the Hunt family, obviously. I want to get the Ewing and Muriel Kaufman story about Marion Labs, and then the Kaufman Foundation and the Kaufman Center. We're going to try to do that as well. We're in touch with them and talking to them as well. So it'll be, there are many things. I want to get the big slick guys in, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, get Paul Rudd, and we just saw Rob Riggle the other night. He's got a new book out, and Paul Rudd's here, and his mom, Gloria, very, very active in the community. And Eric Stone Street lives here now. We've already done Heidi Gardner.
Okay.
And then get David Keckner as well, get the whole crew, and get them in one at a time, and, you know, space them out and the whole thing. So we have lots. I think I counted up because I was coming in here. We've done 110. There are another 155 people or things in our silos on our lists. So we still have a lot of work to do.
You got it. Okay. Wow. That's great.
Yeah.
What, the comedian angle, you got all these famous comedians who have these deep ties. Is there anything, I know you haven't talked to all of them, but how does that happen? What's the tie on all this as far as you can read into what's going on and how all these notable famous comedians all came from here?
Yeah, I think, well, they all ended up spreading out, but then they all remembered where they came from.
Yes.
And then they all said, well, Jason Sudeikis is from here. I should, you know, Paul Rudd call Jason Sudeikis or Eric Stone Street. I should get a whole Sudeikis, or Sudeikis says, we should get together somehow. And it was Rob Riggle's idea, was Big Slick. It was just going to be a poker tournament. That was all it was going to be. And then eventually they decided, you know what, I think we can probably do more. And then once they started having it, and all of these stars they had coming in started to go back to their other areas, like Heidi Gardner went back to Saturday Night Live, all of a sudden everybody from Saturday Night Live goes, why have you invited me to Big Slick?
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden she invites them, and then they tell other people, and the word spreads through Hollywood. You know how they are, you know, that's one of the things. So I think that's a big deal.
It's so weird. I mean, and Heidi Gardner obviously is kind of that next generation, so to speak. But I don't know if it's something in the water or what. But on a per capita basis, we must have the funniest people in America.
Well, look at you, Pete.
I know. Look at that. That's what it's all about, Frank.
Plus, you got Keatsman coming up next.
And, you know John Anthony's hysterical, too. I mean, we got a good crew here. You're right about that, Frank.
They're Midwestern comedic DNA is rubbing off on us because now we're funnier than we used to be. Because when we first got here, we were both miserable.
Oh,
okay,
gosh.
we were just mean East Coast mean guys.
See, maybe speak for yourself, Frank. Speak for yourself. Keatsman said last week that you called him a rube when he was a young guy.
That was the only word he could use on the air.
I said, so he's like, what's a rube? I was like, I think it's like a country bumpkin.
Yeah.
I'm like, that makes Villanova guys look bad that you show up in town and start calling all the local kids rubes. I mean, what's that say?
Listen to me, I'm laughing, I'm having a good time, so they've all rubbed off. So here we go.
All right, Frank Bowles joining us here on KCMO. What's the biggest change you've seen in your 45 years as you look at Kansas City over the last almost half a century?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. I think now it's starting to be the epicenter of people to bring events here. I give Kathy Nelson a tremendous amount of the respect for that, and the Greater Kansas City Sports Commission, and her being president, and then Casey now, and everything that they have done to promote our city, and then for our city to start getting things like the T-Mobile Center and Power and Light, and starting to put that stuff together now with the Chiefs and the Royals looking for new places to live and to play. I think all of that has come into play, conventions, et cetera, et cetera. I think Kansas City has become less of a flyover city and more of a destination, and I think we're going to see that when we see the World Cup as well. I'm not sure how many people are really going to be here, but we're going to get people from all over the world to come to Kansas City. And look, at when you have Argentina playing in the first game here in Kansas City, you just go, oh my God.
Yeah.
Anybody have any idea how big this is in Argentina? So it's going to be crazy.
Someone said to me that's heavily involved with KC 2026 in the World Cup. They said, what they want Kansas City, and I'm not saying this to propagandize on their behalf. They just said that this was their vision, and it's the vision of other big business folks in Kansas City, is they want the business of sports to be to Kansas City what music has been for Nashville, and what Austin, Texas has kind of become with tech and things like that. They, with some of the companies you mentioned, the architecture firms and things like that, all being based here. They want the business of sports to really be a defining thing for Kansas City.
Oh yeah.
Do you see that as part of the future? And if so, what does it look like?
Oh sure, they already have the women's volleyball Final Four was taking place here in town. They're going to get the women's rugby international championships here. I'm sure they're going to continue to do soccer. Okay, as it goes along, the Women's World Cup, they're bidding for that as well. I mean, and I think they'll sit on that to see how this World Cup goes, as far as the World Cup 2026 and how we handle that, transportation wise, security wise, accommodations wise, all those things. So I think we have eyes on Kansas City. We better shine when it happens. Transportation better work, security better work, accommodations better work. Everything has to work. There's a tremendous amount of pressure on World Cup 2026.
Yeah, and not just the events though, but the getting the architecture, the business side heavily engaged.
Sure, absolutely.
You see that being possible as well?
Oh yeah, and I think it already is because everybody comes to our architecture firms to build their stadiums wherever they are.
Yeah,
whether they're in England, Ireland,
Los
Germany,
Angeles,
Italy,
right? They did
Los
SoFi.
Angeles,
Who did SoFi?
anywhere.
One of the companies did SoFi.
Yeah. I think a lot of times they collaborate on some of this as well.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. All right. So then as we put a bow on this conversation, we got about a minute to go. Frank Bowles joining us here on KCMO. The most important question to ask you is the FCS playoff game this weekend, D1 AA, Villanova playing Eastern Illinois. Who wins the game?
V for Villanova.
Wow. He still got the pipes.
V for victory.
He still got the pipes.
V for blue and W for white. For the blue and the white, we will fight. That's all I know.
There he goes. That's all I know. That's great.
Yeah, you got it.
And your roommate is heavily involved in the athletics of Villanova, right?
Yeah, Frank Bogle, my roommate, way smarter than me, retired as the executive vice president of IBM. And he is heavily involved with Villanova athletics. He's a season ticket holder for football and basketball, and he's a big donor or whatever. So yeah, he's out there. He always gives me a call and gives me the latest.
Okay, well, we'll talk off mic about that. But I hear $2 beers because Keatsman says they're going up against the Eagles on Saturday, which is a tough spot. Kids are off campus.
Yeah.
But $2 beers, I may have to fly back for that one. Frank, we'll go together. What do you think? All right.
You hire the jet.
That was on you, man. I figure the podcast is doing so well, you can take care of that.
Right.
Oh, gosh. Frank, great to see you, man.
Hey, good seeing you too, Pete, always.
Frank Bowl on KCMO, our feature Friday guest. Caller of the day is next.
From Lenexa to Lee Summit, you're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
What a news week this has been. Starting off at Brown University and the tragedy there in Australia, and my goodness, list goes on and on. Then you get to the end of the week, and we've got now a lot of rumors and reports flying around about the Chiefs and the Royals. So we'll get to all that coming up. But one of the big news stories this week was the President of the United States rescheduling marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 drug. So instead of being under the same umbrella as heroin and cocaine, it's now in the mix with testosterone and Tylenol and things like that. And this is good for banking reasons. Also, this leads to, as it's been pitched, more research. Here's what the President of the United States had to say yesterday when he signed this executive order.
Today, I'm pleased to announce that I will be signing an executive order to reschedule marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 controlled substance with legitimate medical uses. We have people begging for me to do this, people that are in great pain. For decades, this action has been requested by American patients suffering from extreme pain, incurable diseases, aggressive cancers, seizure disorders, neurological problems, and more, including numerous veterans with service-related injuries and older Americans who live with chronic medical problems that severely degrade their quality of life. And it's so really, I mean, just, I can't tell you, I think I probably have received more phone calls on this, on doing what we're doing. I don't think I received any calls on the other side of it, but hopefully this reclassification, which, by the way, polls at 82%, will help many of those patients live a far better life.
All right, so that was President Trump, and I agree with him on this. I came around on this after it got reported on, I guess it would have been Tuesday, late Tuesday, early Wednesday, that the president was considering this, because my first inclination was, as someone who doesn't think marijuana has by and large been good for society recreationally, I feel like I admit a hypocrite saying it, which troubles me because I don't want to be a hypocrite. But then when I say, hey, this can lead to more research, this can lead to us figuring out where marijuana and when marijuana might be a better alternative for certain people dealing with certain things than, say, just popping pills. That's the kind of research that I want out there. That's the kind of information that I want out there. I want the FDA to go out there and get more science on this, not less science. That's what we need to see happen. And this conversation led to our caller of the day on KCMO.
Hello?
It's the Mundo in the Morning Caller of the Day on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
Dennis and Bonner, what's up, Dennis? You're on KCMO.
Good morning, Pete. Boy, you threw me an Uncle Charlie on your response. I really thought you were going the other way, and I apologize for assuming. Thank you, because the marijuana issue is if people that have used it for medicinal purposes, be it for the 86-year-old woman with memory loss, that all of a sudden her 3 growing children say, oh, my God, Mom's back. She's not as forgetful. For the person that's got colitis, and this is the one I don't get because I know a couple people that smoke it or take gummies for ulcerative colitis, and it helps. The paraplegic that takes it for pain. Mm-hmm. Instead of taking hardcore big pharma drugs that are destroying your organs. And here's one, vertigo. It helps with vertigo, sir. Hey, have a good one, buddy.
Listen, I'm not a doctor, but I know a lot of people who are going to say the same exact thing as you. And that's why I'm open to it, and I'm intrigued by it. And Dennis didn't need to apologize the way he did. I mean, it's not the worst thing to throw your audience a curveball once in a while. He thought I was going to come out against Trump on the rescheduling, but I'm in agreement. So let's just see how it plays out and what it means for the industry. Now, it doesn't mean that marijuana is legal federally. It has nothing to do with that. It just means the FDA can research it. And we did have a guest this morning, and you'll hear it on the podcast after the show. Apin Thampi he's been heavily involved as a lobbyist in Missouri on the marijuana issue for a long time. He says that now, even in Kansas, where marijuana is not legal, you will have the VA be allowed to prescribe medicinal marijuana through the VA only. I had not seen that until he said it this morning, so we'll see what exactly that means. But, I was talking to someone last night who has been battling cancer for years, and he does use marijuana in a state that he is not technically supposed to use it in. And he goes, I don't know where I'd be without this stuff. He's like, I get prescribed this, that, the next thing. I have all these problems and issues, and marijuana is the only thing that really helps me stabilize sometimes. And this is a very productive and successful person. It's not some guy sitting on his couch eating Doritos. I mean, this person has had a lot of success in their field. So it's those stories and people like that that I talk to and I hear from. And I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and be a stickler on this one. I'm not. I want to know more. I want to learn more. I want more research. It's like we talked about during COVID. When Fauci was out there screaming about settled science, there is no such thing as settled science. Science is always evolving. It's always changing. That's what we need more of, not less of. So something to keep an eye on, something to watch. We'll see how it plays out on KCMO. The big news last hour that we broke here on KCMO Talk Radio came courtesy of Ty Masterson, the Kansas Senate president. And he is the one who is hosting the LCC meeting, the Legislative Coordinating Council meeting, coming up on Monday in Topeka. This is the body that is going to approve or deny the star bond request from the Chiefs and or the Royals. And after all the rumors and hoopla and reports flying around yesterday, we got the guy who knows as much as anybody right now on the Kansas side of the state line. And the only interview he did this morning was right here on KCMO. And what he said is that the Chiefs will have a proposal in front of the LCC on Monday. There will be Chiefs representatives in attendance. The Royals are not on the agenda on Monday. And there is no plan to consider anything related to them ahead of the 12/31 deadline. And I said, well, the deadline's technically June 30, right, of next year. I mean, could we still be doing this coming up in 26? And he made a good point that Dan Hawkins, who is the current Speaker of the House in Kansas, becomes the new chair of this LLC next year. And Dan Hawkins has made it very clear they're not taking anything up in the legislative session next year for either of these two teams. So the deadline of 12/31 does feel pretty solid. And if the Royals aren't on there for Monday, the conclusion to come to is that the Royals are not coming to Kansas. Now, as Ty said, I mean, there still could be another way they want to come to Kansas, but the star bond is not going to be there. And let's be honest, that's what's attractive to the teams. So I'm not ready to sit here and just say the Royals are definitely staying in Missouri, but we're as close to coming to that conclusion as we've ever been, based on what Ty Masterson said on this show. So we put that up on X. It's up on Facebook as well, and you will hear the podcast when we wrap up the show as well, coming up in about 15 minutes. We'll wrap up the week as we do each and every Friday, and it'll be our last one of 2025 with Kevin Kietzman. Uncanceled is coming up at 10 on KCMO.
You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM KCMO.
What a week it's been. National news, local news. I mean, it's been, for a time of year when it supposedly slows down, Kevin Kietzman, it is not slowing down at all, man.
Man, I hear you're going to be able to build a tree house at your place and watch Chiefs practices from it. Have you heard that, Mark?
Yeah.
The Mundo Estate's going to have a tree house. The girls will be up there every day watching Mahomes sling it here in about 5 years.
Well, I could give you guys some insight into what's going on at practice, I guess, if
Yeah,
some of these
course.
rumors come true, right?
Oh, they'll build a wall. Trust me. They'll zone that thing off, man.
I could see. You know what's hilarious? My brother just got Claire, my oldest, a telescope for her birthday.
Oh.
So that may come in handy from the top of the treehouse
How about
if some of these rumors come to fruition.
Mundo Airlines, we'll get him a drone. He can just fly over the practices, live stream it every day. It's awesome.
I mean,
that's the spot. They say the Chiefs are going to build their corporate offices and practice facilities around K10 and Woodland, or K10 and Ridgeview.
Oh, man.
By the soccer complex.
Yeah.
I think they'd probably use those soccer fields for some football as well, right?
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
Maybe what
man.
they have in mind.
We'll see. I mean, it's just been a wild 24 hours around here. Jeez.
The Royals stuff is the most confusing part.
I know.
I don't know what that is. I mean, yesterday they said they've checked all boxes to continue on, and they're fully committed to Kansas. And then Ty Masterson with you, I thought was breaking news today. It was an excellent interview. He walked that back and said a staffer put that comment out.
Yeah.
That it wasn't me. And he was kind of running from it a little bit. But then I didn't hear him say the Royals are dead in Kansas. And wouldn't the Royals put a statement out if they were dead in Kansas?
Well, but and now I'm thinking back to it, and Mark and John, you guys correct me if I'm wrong. What he also said, thinking back to his comments, was the Star Bond won't be on the table. He kind of said the Star Bond's not going to be on the table for him anymore, but they could still come to Kansas.
That was weird.
And I'm like, well, no, they're not coming here without a Star Bond.
No chance.
There's no way.
No chance.
But I don't think he wanted to admit that.
Unless Overland Park or Johnson County offers a tax or something.
Yeah, but there's not enough
Not
money
enough money.
there. There's not enough money.
Not 70%.
Yeah,
no,
there's no way.
I got the feeling the Royals are going to move a chess piece before Monday or before the 31st.
Yeah.
Something's going to happen because the staffer who apparently shouldn't have been commenting for Ty Masterson yesterday,
I know, that's a bad look.
may be fired today. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, seriously, if that's what the staffer put out, it must be true, and they didn't want it to be made public. So something's happening behind the scenes, and he was no comment. So
Yeah.
there's no way the Royals have gone to this much trouble to let this Star Bond thing expire.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they're going to Kansas. There's no way they bought that mortgage. They've told T-Mobile that they can't have their lease. You mentioned this week about Black and Veatch and the land swap. They got all these moving parts. There's no way all this is going on. If the Royals were out in Kansas, they would have just said it. They wouldn't be putting up with these headaches right now if they didn't still eye that land.
And getting slaughtered by Overland
Killed.
Park residents and Leawood residents.
Crushed.
Like, why would they take that beating if it's done, right?
Absolutely.
To your point. So it's just that part. I agree. The Royals part of it was not adding up for me, and I'm not quite sure why yet.
Royals should put a press release out the day after Christmas.
Yeah.
Nobody will see it.
No one will see it.
We're eyeing the site in Kansas. It's not over yet. It's not confirmed, but we're moving forward on the possibility of building a ballpark.
Well,
there.
and you know how it is too. You've done this 40 years. It's like all this news coming down end of the year. I mean, most of media are going to be taking some time off. Public's out traveling, not paying attention with family, and they're going to try to do their thing, right? That's what it feels like.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that on Monday, the Chiefs aren't releasing some plans for a new stadium.
Yeah.
They're going to this committee and they're saying, we accept your offer of the Star Bond, and we have an intention of building, and they're going to name a place, and they're going to show them things that they won't release publicly in order to get the vote. We assume they're going to say it's the land that I reported on right next to the Speedway, that they've worked it out with the France family. That's where they want to build their stadium. They're going to tell that committee that. The committee will approve the Star Bonds. They'll go forward, and they're not going to say much to the public yet. They're just going to have that offer there. I've said the same thing for the Royals. Why not take the Star Bond offer? Say your intention's 119th Street. If you change your mind, Clay County wants to put something on the ballot in April, you can always go back on it, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point. You
You don't put a down payment down. It's not like you have to give Kansas $1 billion.
Yep. So true, man. Well, let's get to what actually is going on this weekend, because right now that's all speculation. We got college football playoffs happening coming up tonight, I guess. We got the first game, right? Yeah. First college football playoff game.
Yeah.
I mean, I think these first rounds are going to be blowouts. It feels like that's how it's been, at least through 1 year of a 12-team playoff. Are you into this first round, or are you kind of like...
who's going to blow out who tonight? We got Alabama at Oklahoma.
Well, I think Oklahoma wins, but we got two blowouts tomorrow.
Okay.
We got two blowouts tomorrow. Do you agree?
I do agree. Those will be blowouts, yes.
Yeah, the Tulane and the JMU game are going to be blowouts.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
It looks like it.
Games at OU tonight. They won the first matchup. I know it's hard to beat Alabama twice, but I'm on OU tonight. Are you?
Their defense is phenomenal.
Yes.
If they get 3 or 4 takeaways, they'll win the game. That's what they do.
I agree.
The Miami A&M game's probably the best game.
Yeah.
If somebody's going to blow out the other, it would be A&M. But A&M played for an SEC team. They played sort of a soft SEC schedule. I've never been a big believer in Miami. I think they're going to go into College Station and get beat.
I could see that.
That's just
now. What does Colin Klein do? How is he going to look tomorrow? Do you think?
I mean, every K-State person I know wants A&M to win the national title. We'll wait a month for Colin to come to Manhattan. Let's go win the national title. Take that ring. Go show all the kids and bring some players in.
Oh, that's a good play.
Yeah.
It's a good recruiting chip.
Yeah,
I like that.
He'll get if they win and continue to play, he'll get pretty famous.
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah. So now we also have these FCS semifinals tomorrow, and you're the one that told me. I mean, I'm the Villanova guy.
For Villanova, V for victory.
Keatsman's telling me that Villanova's offering $2 beers for the first quarter of the game tomorrow because the game's at 6:30 and it's in the middle of an Eagles game.
Yeah, the Eagles will be somewhere in the third quarter about that time, right across town. I think they're at home, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think they're at home, so it's going to be trouble. So they offered $2 beers and $2 hot dogs.
They're at the Commanders tomorrow.
Okay. So they're down the road. But
No one's going to go to the Villanova game in the middle of an NFC East matchup like that.
It's going to be tough.
Oh, man, that's a tough putt.
And Nova's a 2.5-point underdog?
Yeah.
I'm on them, baby. They were a 12.5-point dog last week, and they won outright.
Was that your lock of the week?
Yeah, it was my lock
Mark?
of the week, yeah.
Wow, look at that is going deep.
I may double down today. Why would I not?
FCS football for the lock of the week from Keatsman. Mark, you got some catching up to do, man.
I know. I've been eyeing another FCS game maybe.
Oh, really?
For later
well, there's only 2, right? They're in the semifinals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Will they have a parade in Philadelphia if Villanova wins football?
They won it like 10 years ago or something. I don't think so.
Wasn't a big deal?
No, I mean, I was out of school, but I don't think so.
Frank had a jacket on from the 60s today.
I know.
Did you see that?
I'm not convinced the sweatshirt he gave me isn't
It's
like
new?
his leftovers.
He says it's new.
I know.
I asked him.
I know. He says it's new. I don't know. I got to smell that thing.
He
when I
stole
get home.
that thing he had on. I'm outing him right now. He
Really?
stole it. It's not even his number. He
Really?
stole it. Yeah, he took it right out of the equipment room on his way out after he graduated and was done. He just went in and stole it.
From the late 60s?
Yeah.
It looked like it was in good shape, though. He's
Frank
taking care
Bowl,
of it.
you're a thief.
That's right.
You rube.
Yeah.
Didn't he say that he had a friend or roommate that was on the football team?
Yeah, his Frank Bogle, I think his name was. Frank Bowl and Frank Bogle, roommates.
Oh, my.
At Villanova. My gosh.
Frank's in the Villanova Hall of Fame.
Is he really?
And the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame.
Jeez, he is too humble. He doesn't tell me this stuff when he shows up.
You probably shouldn't run around telling people that stuff, right?
That's right.
He was a good running back, very good running back.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Gosh dang. And he taught Keatsman everything he knew about TV,
He
right?
had to be a good running back because he's a thief. He was stealing stuff as a kid and running from people.
There you go. There you go. What do you got going on this weekend here, my man?
I think we got to do some Christmas shopping. I'm probably going to watch some football. It's supposed to be warm again. I heard a rumor of maybe trying to play 9 holes of golf. We're weird. We don't care.
You can do it?
Heck yeah.
Okay.
If it's 50 degrees or better and not too windy, I'll go.
All right. Well,
just anything to get outside,
I know. I got yard work. I got leaves to pick up. That's what I got to do this weekend.
Maybe Mark and I will come over to your house and build that tree house.
Yeah.
Girls would like that, wouldn't they?
Peeking in on Mahomes at practice when he's 37 years old. There you go. Have a great weekend, Kevin.
Thank you, buddy.
Keatsman Uncanceled is next.